Nero Awakening. Written by Keary Taylor. Narrated by Jamie Lamchick. 1. It's true, then. To my surprise, it's Rena who takes a step forward, looking at Zara with odd but accusatory eyes. There are other Nero left, not just Nova, not just Valen. It is true, Zara says with a nod. Her expression is calm, confident. She's sure of herself, of her abilities if she has to use them, but she isn't looking for a fight. There are not many of us left, but there are some. I'm not looking at any of my crew. I'm still in wonder and shock at what's in front of me. But behind me, I feel tension building, like it's a physical thing. If there are some of you left, why are you hiding out here on the edge of the galaxy when you could be doing something about Dominion? Rena's voice is cold as ice and sharp as glass. I do a quarter turn, glaring death at her, but she doesn't look at me in return. She glares up at Zara and Tomas with more emotion than I ever knew her to be capable of. That's anger. That's venom. That's hatred. My first instinct is to shut her up, to make her apologize for speaking to them that way. But a vision flashes before my eyes, of 11 miners in the square on Corpillion. I remember the Neron spear that shot through their heads like it was nothing. Those men and women might not have been blood, but they were Rena's family. They are all dead because she employed them. No. They're all dead because of Dominion's greed. They're dead because Cerilius told Valen to kill them. I invited Nova to Calypso so that she might gain an education and training, Zara says. I see the muscles in her jaw tighten. I see the tight set to her shoulders. I assumed there would be others with her. I assumed they would also seek to learn more, to find truth. If that is not the case, you are invited to leave. She is looking for answers. It's Edan who speaks up. He takes a step forward, looking up into Zara's eyes without fear. She wants to know the truth. That's why she asked you the question. And I feel it now. Everyone around me wants to know the same thing. The Nero are more powerful than anything in the galaxy. It's gutted me, knowing that Valen could destroy Dominion, and Cerilius. But he hasn't. A Nero could change the whole galaxy, and Zara just said there are multiple Nero here. Dominion's army is huge, I say. My voice comes out small and rough. They dominate the entire galaxy. These people here, they're just individuals. I turn, catching the eye of everyone around me. I make sure they see me. I make sure they understand. This weight is terrifying. It's suffocating. We're just individuals. I startle slightly when I feel a warm hand on my shoulder. Zara is at my side, her hand on my shoulder. I meet her eyes and see appreciation in them. I see understanding. We're guests here, I say, as a wave of calm washes over me. We'll get some answers. We'll talk. But don't any of you dare jump down any throats before we even get a chance to talk. I glare at everyone around me. I understand both sides, but I've found myself in a new position. I want to trust Zara. I want to believe that there is someone in this galaxy who can give me answers, someone who can guide me, someone who is a Nero and a good person. I want to believe that there is hope for me, that I won't turn out like Valen. I look back at my crew, and this time, I know there is pleading in my eyes. I'm begging them. I'm begging my father and Zane. I'm begging Edan. I'm begging Rena. They're just scared. We've been running for lunars now. Dominion will kill Rena if they find her. My father and Zane are scared because if Dominion finds me, they will use me. They'll kill me. And Edan has just been dragged into a whole new mess of drama he has nothing to do with. I see it in their eyes. They give. They nod. Please, I say, looking back at Zara. Give us a chance. Her eyes rise to look over my crew. I see that she isn't a woman who trusts easily. She took a risk inviting me here. But she's also a woman who must hope. She did take that risk on me. I think she wants to see a different future too. Come with us, she says. She lets her hand linger on my shoulder for just a moment before she turns and walks back up the stairs to Tomas's side and begins to ascend them. I follow without question, without a backward glance. I know I'm following too easily. I'm probably being blind, too trusting. But I'm desperate. I follow them, and after a few moments, I hear the crew muttering behind me, and then footsteps on the stones, following. Up and up we rise. Dozens of stone steps rise up past buildings that look like simple homes made out of the same stone of the cliffs before they drop down into the Neron blue sea. But even though they look like homes, even though they seem well cared for, I don't see any signs of life inside them. As far as I can tell, the only two people on the planet Calypso are Zara and Tomas. My eyes rise, climbing, and my neck cranes up and up, taking in the beautiful building where the stairs lead. I've never seen anything like it. It's pure white. It looks a little like a castle I saw once in a book. It's huge, big enough to house 100 people. White spires reach toward the clear sky. There are details carved into the surface of it, suns and moons and people and flowers and water. It's the most intricate piece of artwork I've ever seen. What is this place? I ask in awe as we crest the last step and set across a flat walkway. Just ahead, there is a set of towering doors. The Tabernacle. Tomas speaks for the first time. When he says it, he doesn't look back at me. He, too, looks up at the beautiful building before us. There's reverence in his expression. And I have to remember, he is the leader of the Bahiri. They worship and revere the Nero. They dedicate their lives to serving them. I don't get that. I'm just a person. I really hope he doesn't try to bow at my feet. It is the center of our lives here on Calypso. Zara offers a little more explanation as we approach the doors. It is where we go for connection, for family, where we receive much of our teaching. It is where we go to find peace in a galaxy that has tried to drive us to extinction. Goosebumps wash over my arms. Everything here is impossible, like a dream or a fairy tale. Nothing seems real. It is not meant as an offense or an exclusion, Zara says as we stop outside the doors and she turns to face all of us again. But only Nero and Bahiri are allowed within the Tabernacle. I thought we could talk in my private garden. Just then, the door to the Tabernacle opens just a little bit. Tomas turns to whoever remains hidden behind it and takes a basket. He says something quietly, and the doors close again. Well, at least there's a little bit of proof that they aren't the only two beings on this planet. This way. Zara inclines her head to one side of the building, and we all follow her. We round one end of the building. I can't tell north or south on this planet with endless ocean and only a few islands as landscape, but I see a wall up ahead, made of the same pale pink sandstone that's so predominant on this island. Zara aims for a gate and swings it open, standing aside for us to walk through. My nostrils flare as I'm overwhelmed with smells. Something citrus, but it smells real, not the engineered stuff I've experienced on Corpillion. It also smells like cotton and a soft flower. It's incredible. The flowers that line the walls and climb them are vibrant and varied. There are pinks and yellows and whites and a few scattered blues. It's overflowing with beauty. In the center of the garden, there's a table, looking recently placed, with just enough chairs around it to fit us all. Tomas places the basket on the table and begins unloading it. There's fruit and cheese and cured meats and a jug of a blue liquid. "I hope you're hungry," Zara says with a small, controlled smile. Rena looks distrustfully at the head Nero, but she does sit, grabbing herself some fruit. Zane sits next to her, looking around as if he's casing the area and would know what to do if there was an attack. Edan doesn't waste a second helping himself to the food. He's always acting like he's starving to death, despite being told he could eat his fill on the Corsair. My father stays close to my side, sitting directly next to me as we take our places at the table. Zara and Tomas sit. Zara takes a few pieces of fruit, but Tomas just sits there, looking at me like he's still in awe to see me there. "I do have some questions for you," Zara says. Her warm brown eyes rise to meet mine, and I don't feel threatened. "I think you understand this is a big deal to both sides. You have many questions. We didn't know there were any more of us. We are constantly at risk here on Calypso. If Dominion ever found us, they would destroy the entire planet as quickly as they could." I nod, and I'm grateful that my father does as well. "I won't put you at risk, I promise." The look in her eyes is appreciative. "What planet are you from?" Slag. She started with the one question I don't think I can answer honestly. I just found out my father isn't my father and that he found me floating in space, surrounded by Neron, just outside the frozen kingdom, the planet Glora Quinlune. That's just too much to tell a stranger. "Corpillion," I answer, because until a few days ago, I 100% believed it to be true. "Then you escaped before Dominion took the planet over," Tomas says as a statement of fact. I nod. "Just barely. We left the planet the day they came." "How old are you, Nova?" Zara asks. Her eyes are narrowed slightly. I wonder if questions and answers are tumbling through her head with the speed of a Class 6 ship, like mine. 22. I answer that honestly, until I realize I don't even know that as a fact. My father only guessed at how old I was and went from there. Slag. Who the void am I? Zara's eyes narrow even further, but not in suspicion. "And you never manifested any abilities until just recently?" I feel my father stiffen slightly next to me, but not enough for it to be noticeable to either of them. "No," I lie. "It is highly unusual," Zara says. "Typically, Neros manifest their abilities between the ages of 10 and 15 solars. I have never heard of anyone staying dormant until their 20s. I shouldn't bristle. I'm the one who is lying, so I should bite my tongue. But I am Nova Ainsley. "Call me a late bloomer," I say, with spite in my voice. Zara doesn't react to that. If you came from a planet with smaller amounts of Neron deposits, it would make more sense, perhaps, Tomas muses. But considering Dominion found enough to take over the planet, it's strange. I'm an old Nero, I get it, I say with annoyance. What other questions do you have for me? I'm getting a little tired of trying to analyze the expressions on their faces. Maybe I was too desperate. I don't like being interrogated. Does anyone outside these walls know you are a Nero? Zara asks, leaving behind the speculation, almost as if she can read my thoughts. Great. One more person who does have access to my brain. No, I lie. Rena is the only person here who knows it's a lie. Valen knows. He knows it better than I do. I'm still trying to grasp the word in relation to me, but Valen does. He's been very clear about it. I shouldn't trust Valen. Why should he keep my secret from Dominion? But I do trust him. I trust him far too much. Then I have just one more question for you, Zara says, folding her hands in her lap. I lean forward, ready for it. Do you want to join us? She asks, leaning in toward me as well. Do you want to learn how to use your abilities? Do you want to get them under control? Do you wish to be trained as a Nero? She might as well have taken a swing at me, punching me square in the chest. Her direct questions knock the breath from my lungs. But where I was annoyed by all her questions just moments ago, this one makes me be honest with myself. I'm so tired of the confusion, the self-hatred, the uncertainty. I soften. With just a few words, Zara has broken through my rough exterior. Yes, I confess honestly. A soft smile begins to form on her face. Again, it's confident, but never arrogant. It's soft, but knowledgeable. Then what questions can I answer for you, Nova? How many Nero are on this planet? Can a non-Nero be trained to wield Neron? How long will the training take? Could you really blow up an asteroid with your mind? The questions volley out of my crew with insane force. Zara and Tomas's eyes widen, and they both sit back just slightly. My eyes widen in embarrassment for just a moment, but it's quickly followed by a chuckle and a shake of my head. To my surprise, a smile forms on Zara's own face. Your friends and family obviously care deeply about you. I smile, giving an acknowledging nod as I reach over, taking my father's hand. I give it a squeeze, and he squeezes right back. We will go with their questions, I say, shaking my head once more as I look from them back to Zara. How many Nero are on this planet? 7, she answers directly, if we don't include you. 7? I gape without thinking. I run a hand into my hair, pulling slightly. 7. I had started to hope. I had started to imagine. An army of Nero, rallying them, going against Dominion. But holy slag, if there are only 7 of them, no wonder they haven't risen against Dominion yet. What they say is true, Zara says. As Dominion has taken over the Neron-rich planets, fewer and fewer Nero have been born, and we suspect Dominion is killing any Nero they have found in recent solars. So we count it as a miracle there are even 7 of us who have been gathered from around the galaxy. You really think Dominion has been exterminating Neros? Edan asks. His arms are folded on the table, and he studies Tomas and Zara with those tired, intense eyes of his. I think they have to be, she says, meeting his gaze. Because even once Dominion takes over a planet, there still has to be a population to support the mines. There are still families on those planets, children being born. With how many inhabitable planets there are in the Eon galaxy, the numbers are there that there has to be some Nero born. But where are they? I hate it. All the words she just said. But she's right. It's a game of numbers, and there have to be others out there. Suddenly, I don't feel quite so alone. But I also want to find Cerilius and tear him apart, one tiny chunk of skin at a time. He deserves to suffer for killing innocent children. Why would Cerilius kill the Nero children? My father Torin pipes up. Why wouldn't he take them? Why wouldn't he use them like he has Valen? Zara meets his eyes and shakes her head. I cannot guess at the motives in his evil mind. I don't understand either. I would never want to understand why Cerilius does what he does. Next question, Tomas says. How many Bahiri are here? I ask. It's really not important, but it's what comes out of my mouth while I'm still stuck on the last issue. There are 27 of us, he says. We've come from different parts of the galaxy. Some of us here were the original settlers of Calypso. That right there tells me this planet hasn't been inhabited long, probably only since the battle on Isroth. Is Evander Nero here? The question blurts out from my lips before I give them a second more of consideration. The way they both hesitate is a confirmation that sends my heart racing and fluttering. He is, I say in a breath. I hear the others mutter things of awe and disbelief, but I don't process them. Do you know, has he said who his prophecy is about? I don't realize I've risen to my feet until Zara extends a hand out, indicating for me to sit back down. But my heart is thundering in my ears. My palms are slick with sweat. I'm not alone. I'm not one of 2 Nero in the galaxy. The prophecy can't be about me. There are endless possibilities when it comes to a Nero's visions of the future, she says, and for the first time, there's a hard edge to her voice. This is a topic that would be appropriate to discuss at another time. No, I want to talk about it now. I want to know now. But the look in her eyes tells me she means it, and she's done talking about this. How long will the training take? My father changes the subject, and I should be grateful for his tact, but I'm still stuck on the prophecy. Zara looks relieved. There is no set time. This is not an academy. Ideally, a Nero should have a master their entire life, guiding and teaching them. Nova is 22 with no training. Perhaps she will master things quickly. Perhaps not. I won't know until we can do an evaluation. Her brown eyes shift to me. But there is no end to what you could learn, Nova, she continues. Nero constantly learn. We evolve, and we do that best around one another. My invitation for you to come to Calypso was not for a certain amount of time. This galaxy is dangerous for us. We need to stay together. Forever. Zara's invitation to come to Calypso was for forever. Of course, no one will force you if you do not wish to stay, she adds, soothing the small spike of fear in the bottom of my stomach. I sit back in my seat, trying to give air to the massive weight in the room. And what about the rest of us? My father speaks again, so logical when I lose my mind. We aren't Nero, we aren't Bahiri. Do we have to leave if Nova wishes to stay and be trained, or would we be permitted to stay?" I sit up again at my father's question, because their answer changes and defines everything. If they can't stay, I'm not staying. Zara and Tomas look at one another. I try to read their expressions, try to discern what they might be considering. They are taking a risk in letting us be here. They don't know anything about us. We could rat them out to Dominion. But they know I'm a Nero. They need me. I need them. "So long as you do not give us a reason to distrust you, you may stay," Zara says. "For now. We can discuss long-term arrangements in the future once all of you have had a chance to think everything over." I let out a little relieved breath and nod with a small smile. The world grows darker, getting washed in dusk, but the temperatures do not dip. It stays comfortably warm. "There is only one house on Calypso big enough to accommodate your crew," Zara says, standing, and as soon as she does, someone steps out from a door half hidden in the greenery and begins clearing the dishes. She's a small woman, maybe slightly older than myself. She wears the same drab, gray, shapeless clothing Tomas wears. "Luckily for you, it is unoccupied at the moment. You are welcome to take it over, unless you prefer to lodge in your ship." "The house will be appreciated," my father speaks up with a little smile. He places a hand on my lower back, and we all step toward the gate once more. Zara and Tomas lead us back down the steps, about halfway down, then we hook to the left, to one of the sandy stone structures looking out toward the endless ocean. "Take the night to consider your options," Zara says, her hands folded in front of her. Her shoulders are back, her chin held high. She seems so regal, so elegant, like the queen of Calypso. "And if you are still here in the morning, breakfast is in the Tabernacle at dawn, and training begins just after." I hesitate at the door, surrounded by Rena, Zane, Edan, and my father, and I nod. With a wish goodnight, Zara and Tomas begin the climb back up the stairs to the Tabernacle. I open the door to the house, and we all step inside. 2. It's the coziest place I've ever been. The ceilings of the house are low, only a few inches above Zane's head, who's the tallest of us. There is no power in the house to be seen. The space is lit by cream-colored candles. The flames flicker, and as the wax begins to melt, the air is scented with the smell of citrus and flowers, just like Zara's garden. A massive couch dominates the central space. It's a deep purple, like Zara's dress. A plush rug lines the floor. There are 5 bedrooms that break off the space. A good-sized kitchen is at the center of the house, and next to it, a dining room with a massive table. It's perfect. When everyone has had a chance to shower, the water is only lukewarm with no water heaters, we gather in the living space, spread between the dining table, the kitchen counter where Edan is putting together random ingredients he finds in the kitchen, and the big purple couch. "I assume you'll be staying," Rena says, breaking right to the heart of what we need to discuss. "It depends on what you all are doing," I say, looking around. I meet Zane's eyes, who seems overwhelmed. I look at Edan, who doesn't look up at me because he's too busy eating, like a ravenous street rat. And I look to my father. I don't want to be separated, but I understand that everything about this planet is about me. I can't just ask all of you to give up your lives. I tuck my knees into my chest, wrapping my arms around them. I'm overwhelmed too, but I can't let it wash over me. I have to be an adult now. I have to be decisive. What do all of you want to do? I ask. My father reaches over and takes my hand in his. I meet his gray eyes, and I knew what his answer was going to be before I asked the question. My place is with you, Nova, he says. From the moment I found you, I decided then. I'm not going anywhere. I give him a little smile, forcing my eyes not to well. I still can't believe it. He gave up his whole life for me, walked away from everything he knew, all because he found a toddler in space who needed someone to take care of her. I'm not going back to Lazeria, Edan says around a mouthful of food. He meets my eyes with his own eternally tired-looking ones. Don't think I'll like any of the Dominion-run planets. I don't have any credits to get to any other planets. So unless you want to lend out some credits, guess you're stuck with me, Nero. He gives me a wink before he bites into some kind of fruit, flashing that manic grin of his. My chest loosens. I didn't want him to leave yet, but I didn't see any reason for him to want to stay. I still can't believe you brought that street rat onto our ship, Zane mutters. Who you calling a rat? Edan defends, though it's more in a sarcastic manner. I've had 3 whole showers since you met me. We still know absolutely nothing about you, Zane barks, looking at him darkly. Zane, Edan stays, I snap back. He had my back, I had his. End of discussion. It's not like I can't take care of him if he becomes a problem. Dark. That was way darker than I meant. But still, Edan raises a callous eyebrow at Zane, smiles, and bites into his fruit again. Well, I'm not leaving with this walking question mark around you, Zane states, giving Edan another dark look before his eyes slide back to mine. You might be a bad Kakshi now, but I can't just do nothing. Even if you and I are over, you're still family, Nova. I cringe a little. We've sorted things out, given it to each other straight, but it's always going to be just a little complicated when it comes to the two of us. I appreciate it, I say, because what else can I say? What about you, Rena? She looks up at me from where she sits at the dining table. She's quiet for a moment, and I can practically hear the gears turning in her head. I think I have a few more things to figure out before I can make that decision. My world was torn apart. I haven't quite figured out my new place in it yet. I nod. Fair enough. Looking around, I see that everyone seems exhausted. It's been a long day. There's been so much anticipation and stress and anxiety over the unknown. Get some rest, I say. And it doesn't feel right, because it sounds like a suggestion from a leader, a captain. And I've never been either of those things, until we left Corpillion and everything changed. But still, I'm the one who says it. We'll look at everything with fresh eyes in the morning. Even though I didn't get more than an hour of sleep last night, I'm walking up the dozens of stairs that rise to the Tabernacle without a falter in my step. The sun hasn't quite broken over the backside of the island when I stop at the front doors. Zara stands before them, and I'm pretty sure that's genuine happiness in her eyes when she sees me. Maybe she really did think I would change my mind and leave Calypso. I hope you slept, she says with a small, controlled smile. In many ways, she reminds me a lot of Rena. Hardly at all, I say honestly, as I tuck my hair out of my face. She smiles, but turns to the doors of the Tabernacle. Welcome to your new home, she says as she pulls the doors open. For as long as you like. For as white and bright as the building is on the outside, I expected it to be bright and white inside. And maybe it is. All the walls are white, but since it's still dim outside, it's dim inside. A great entry opens up before us, the ceiling rising high, soaring above our heads. A great staircase is toward the back of the building, rising up one flight of steps and then splitting in two directions at a landing. There is minimal furniture scattered around the entry, simple, all a tone of white or yellow. A great chandelier hangs from the ceiling above our heads, but instead of lights, crystals hang from its golden surface. Blue crystals. Neron. And just then, the sun crests the island outside, and light spills in through the massive window in the ceiling the chandelier hangs from. The entire tabernacle instantly looks like it is on fire. Blue fire. It dances across every surface, wild and alive and neon blue. It's incredible. I breathe as my eyes dart from one space to the next. I understand now why everything is neutral tones. It's so that they can reflect the neon when the light hits that chandelier. It's a relic from the planet Edan, over 700 solars old, Zara says, looking up at the beautiful piece. It's been installed on over 60 planets since then, moved every time we've been forced to a new one, when war has threatened it, when planets have died. 60 planets. It's such a big number, I can't even imagine it. This is the grand entry, Zara says, and if you'll follow me, we can go to the dining room. She doesn't wait for me, and I have to take quick steps to catch up with her. She's tall, taller than me, with long legs and a lithe body that's covered by a different purple dress. I wonder if the color has some specific meaning on Calypso. We cut through the grand entry and turn right, through a set of tall doors that are twice as tall as I am. And before us is a room smaller than I expected. There are 5 large dining tables spread evenly throughout the space. And at those tables are dozens of people. I stop dead in my tracks, my eyes widening, my blood going cold in my hands. There are a good 24 people in those plain gray clothes. They look at me with excited eyes, expressions of reverence on their faces. I startle back a step when 2 men suddenly drop to their knees and sink their foreheads down to the floor, immediately followed by a woman who mirrors their position. I told them not to do that, Zara says quietly. I'm sure I'm cringing, unsure and overwhelmed and entirely freaked out. At one table, separate from all the Bahiri, is a group of normal-looking people, 5 of them. Everyone, Zara says, her voice carrying through the entire building. This is Nova. She has decided to join us here on Calypso. While they obviously may not enter the Tabernacle, she has others who came with her. I hope you will make all of them feel welcome in our home. I try to offer a smile, to seem friendly, but I'm not entirely sure I succeed. The Bahiri are staring at me like I'm their personal savior. An older woman with streaks of silver in her black hair steps forward and walks right up to me. She gives a dip of her head, not quite meeting my eyes, as she gently reaches for my left hand and takes it between her own. My name is Una, she says with an accent I don't recognize. I will be taking care of you and your crew members. It is an honor, Nova Nero. Thank you? I say. I don't mean for it to come out as a question, but I find myself looking at Zara, not sure what the protocol is here, how I should be reacting. Zara just gives that little smile, and Una gives another quick bow before she releases my hand and takes off. As soon as she leaves, the rest of the Bahiri break off, heading in various directions, but not before each looking back at me at least 3 times. It has been 3 solars since any other Nero came to Calypso, Zara explains. We really thought the rest had been lost to Cerilius. They are very pleased to learn of your existence. Oh. I have no idea what to say about that. All that remains in the room are the 5 people wearing normal clothes, looking at me with hesitance and expectancy. A man with sandy blonde hair, a shadow of facial hair, and pale blue eyes stands and crosses the space. He brings up his hand, extending it toward me. Hesitantly, I take it, shaking it. It's nice to meet you, Nova, he says in a voice much smoother than I expected. I'm Keary. The tightness in my chest loosens a bit. This was a normal reaction. No bowing, no looking at me with reverence. Nice to meet you too, I say, my voice quiet and hesitant. Keary is the other instructor here, Zara says. Only because I'm the next oldest, Keary says, letting a little bit of a smile crack through. It's kind of nice, actually. His teeth are crooked, but it makes him seem softer, normal. You turn 20 solars and suddenly Zara expects you to start sharing what you know with the kids. How old are you? I don't know why that was the question I asked, but it blurts out. He chuckles at my awkwardness, but graciously answers my question. I just turned 31 solars last week. I wouldn't have guessed he was that old. He's just a little older than Rena. Oldest student ever, I say, joking at my expense. I'm just starting at primary age when I should be teaching. I'm sure you'll catch up quick, Keary says with a wink and a smile. I think I'm going to like him. He's not so uptight, not as intimidating as Zara. Nova, these are your classmates, Zara says, indicating the others sitting and watching everything from the table. This is Nimia, who is very close to being ready to teach. The girl, woman, she indicates, looks just a few solars younger than me. She has tight curly black hair, dark features, a delicate frame. She's absolutely beautiful. I give a nod in her direction, an acknowledgement. And Quinton and Ronan, Zara says, indicating the 2 boys sitting beside Nimia. I'd guess they're around 15 and 9 solars old. And Kylie. The last is a young girl with blonde hair and a narrow face. She can't be more than 8 solars. It's nice to meet you all, I say, feeling overwhelmed and out of place. You really made it off Corpillion just before Dominion took over? It's Quinton who speaks up, a look of awe and excitement on his face. I nod. Dominion was actually there before I even got off the planet. Everything started going mad as soon as they arrived. I saw some pretty terrible things before we escaped. I feel a warm, heavy hand on my shoulder and turn to see Keary standing at my side with a sympathetic expression on his face. You're safe here, he says. Dominion will never find this planet. You can relax here. Relax? Someone huffs in an annoyed way. I look over to see Nimia. She's 22. She has solars of catching up to do. I don't think there's going to be any relaxing in her near future. I'm not afraid to work, I say, annoyance biting into my words. I don't like this girl insulting me. I'm still older than her. I'll do whatever it takes to catch up. I feel Zara's eyes on me and look over to see the approving look on her face. "Come with me, then," she says, holding her chin high. I don't look back at the other students as I follow Zara out the doors of the dining room. She starts up those elegant stairs, and I follow her without a word. "You handled yourself well," she says as we rise. We crest the second floor, which is set up in half-moon shape with doors leading off in every direction. We start up toward the third floor. Nimia is testy, but I suspect she feels a little threatened. She has always been the oldest girl here. She is so close to being able to teach. She is close to your age, 19. She'll soften as she gets to know you. I seem to have that effect on other women, I say, before I can think it through. They typically don't like me. I suspect they feel threatened, Zara says as we step out onto the third floor. Straight ahead, she opens a door. We enter what looks like an atrium. There are flowers and plants. Straight ahead, there's a solid wall of windows looking out. "You are beautiful. Your presence is intimidating. You are confident. You know who you are, Nova, and to other women, that can sometimes come off as intimidating." I manage to hold in my huff of scoff. I have no idea who the void I am. I'm a lost little child, overwhelmed by the galaxy. But I appreciate her compliments. She crosses the garden room and opens a door in the glass wall. Outside it, I find a bridge, crossing the gap between the Tabernacle and the hillside of the island. We cross it and find a short path to the crest. I stop when we reach it. It's a spectacular view. There's a ridge that runs from one end of the island to the other, and we're standing on it, providing a panoramic view. I can see for endless kilometers. There are a dozen small islands off the shore of this one. Small. Too small to do much with. The other side is endless ocean, stretching as far as my eyes can see. Endless Neron blue. "I want you to summon Neron," Zara says, looking over at me but not turning her body. "I want you to use it to move the ocean." My brows furrow, and I'm not sure I heard her right. Move the ocean? "Yes," she says with a nod. Holy slag. I am not up to par. If this is her first test, I don't stand a chance at catching up. What must those other Nero children be capable of if they've had solars of training? I take a deep breath. I said I wasn't afraid to do the work. I've decided. I have to learn how to do this. So I take a stance. I fix my eyes on one point in the ocean. I draw in a breath. 1, 2, 3, 4. Goosebumps flash along my skin. I feel my blood awakening. And then there's that feeling, like my spirit, my soul slipping out from my body. I feel it searching, looking for life, energy. Neron. My eyes slide closed as the feeling rushes through me. I feel the Neron. A little sigh escapes my lungs. Because it's everywhere here. I feel it throughout this entire island. I feel it in the Tabernacle. I feel it in the water, in the air. I feel tons and tons of Neron beneath my feet. Calypso is rich in Neron deposits. I feel light. I feel like air. I feel like any moment I could lift off the ground and float through the sky. My eyes slide open, and I shouldn't be surprised by it, but I am. Blue particles are swirling through the air around me. It circles me, racing around my hands, whipping through the air around me like my own personal hurricane. A tiny smile pulls on my face, and I tell myself not to be afraid, even though this is the first time I've known someone was witnessing me wield Neron on purpose. And I bring my hands up, directing the Neron in front of me. It obeys. It raises, focuses, moves. I mentally direct it down the side of the island, and I feel it stretching beyond my grasp, so I follow it, walking down the grassy slope toward it. Zara follows, watching silently. My breath comes in and out of my chest harder. My arms feel tired. My hands begin to burn. But I don't lose my focus. I walk with the swirling Neron down the hill. And when I reach the ocean's edge, I focus harder. I push my Neron into the water. I reach out to the Neron in the ocean. I press. It's a splash at first, and then a wave. And I step forward. I use the Neron as a shield. I tell it not to let a drop of it through. I step onto wet sand, but not into water. My Neron pushes the water in front of me. I want to create a tidal wave away from me. I want to give a big shove and watch it ripple away. But sweat is breaking out onto my forehead. My hands are shaking. I feel like my hands are on fire. I push, rippling the water away from me. I'm trembling from my hands down to my feet. But I don't release the Neron. Go, I think. Move. Move. And just before I think my arms are going to give out, all the water within 10 feet of me explodes, rocketing up and out, away from me, spraying 20 feet into the air. And I lose my grip. I stand there in shock as I'm misted by the water, blown back at me by the wind, and the ocean rushes back at me, submerging me up to my knees. I stand there, frozen. I did it. I moved the ocean. Not like I wanted to, but more than I felt capable of. I can do this. I did it. I can wield Neron to my will. Slowly, I turn in the water, finding Zara watching me from the dry safety of the island. I do not think you're going to have any difficulty catching up, she says, with a delighted gleam in her eyes and that small, controlled smile on her face. 3. Yours is bigger than mine now. Kylie looks up at the Neron bubbles we're making with a disappointed look on her face. We've each formed 5 different bubbles, made of the Neron we've pulled from the ocean. Gently, they drift up into the sky, pulled by the breeze, but only because we allow them to. My bubbles are indeed bigger than Kylie's. That's okay, I say, releasing my Neron and letting the bubbles disappear. I crouch on the ground next to her, looking up at her bubbles, which she holds on to for a while longer. Just imagine how embarrassing it's been for me in the last lunar. Look how old I am. It's about time I started acting my age. You're not old, Nova, Kylie says with a laugh. She shakes her head and her bubbles pop, the brilliant blue particles disappearing back into the air. Tomas is old. You don't have gray hairs like he does yet. I laugh, standing and wrapping an arm around her appreciatively. You're an excellent Nero, Kylie. Don't ever feel bad for being on pace for your age. She gives a sigh, and I can tell she's fighting to keep the disappointment off her face. She's lived here for 3 solars, has been training since she was 5 solars old, and I've certainly surpassed her abilities in the 4 weeks I've been here. I've surpassed Ronan as well, but he doesn't handle it as well as Kylie. I guess it's okay, she says as we turn and head back toward the rest of the class. I wouldn't want you to be embarrassed. She says it in a mischievous way, and she gives me a little side look with a smile growing on her face. Thanks, kid, I say with a laugh, trying not to roll my eyes at her. She's hilarious. Such a goof. Totally her own person already, and she's only 8 solars old. I stop and watch for a minute, Kylie stopping at my side, Ronan off just a little ways. Kyrie stands at the end of the island, a different one from where we live, and he and Nimia and Quinton are literally rearranging the earth. They're pulling stones from inside the island, shaping and rearranging them. They're making a lighthouse, formed from the island's resources. It towers 20 feet tall. They've formed windows around the top, forging glass from the sand on the beaches below. It's hollow inside, with a spiraling staircase. Nimia is etching little scenes into the side of it. Pictures of sirens and foolish sailors and crashing waves and sinking ships. It's beautiful, but dark and depressive. I'm envious as I stand to the side watching. I raise my right hand, focusing my energy on the ground. I search for solid stones beneath me, try to pull them up through the grass. I can feel it, all of the ground beneath my feet. But I can't form the cracks the others can. I can't carve stones from the ground and make them rise up and up. Quinton is 15. Nimia is 19. I'm 22, but I'm only as talented as a 9-solar-old right now. Be patient, I hear Kyril's voice in my head. It's only been a lunar. I close my eyes and let his words from yesterday roll through me, again and again. The sun is beginning to set when the older ones finish. The lighthouse is beautiful, forged from solid stone. It will probably be standing hundreds of solars from now. As a group, we walk to the far side of this small island. Without hesitation, Nimia holds her hands down and flat toward the water, and the water glows brilliant as she steps out onto it, walking across the water on Neron, back toward the main island. Right behind her, Quinton does the same thing, just a little less confidently. And in the back, I trail with Ronan and Kylie and stay close to Kyril as he pulls together enough Neron for all of us to walk across. It's incredible. We're walking across water. Kyril is making the water solid with Neron, but it doesn't look solid, just bluer. Neron is incredible. I mirror Kyril's hands. I focus. I let my soul reach out, searching for the Neron in the water. I pull together what I can. It isn't identifiable. It mixes with Kyril's. But still I practice. I practice every moment I can when I'm awake. We step onto dry ground of the mainland. Ronan and Kylie take off, heading for dinner at the Tabernacle. We're really proud of how quickly you're learning, Kyril says as we walk together back toward the Tabernacle. Both me and Zara. I offer him a little smile, telling myself not to be frustrated. I know it might not feel like it because you're anxious to catch up, but you really are learning incredibly quickly, he says. He pierces me with his pale blue eyes. You've learned solars worth of work in only a lunar. Give yourself credit for that, Nova. Thanks, I say. and I let his words reach in and touch my heart. I have to celebrate the small things. "Are you coming in for dinner?" he asks, as we hit the break in the path back to the village and the Tabernacle. I shake my head. I need to be with my crew tonight. He nods, and we say our goodbyes. I make my way down the path that leads through the village. All the other Nero live in the Tabernacle, as well as about half the Bahiri. The other half live here in these stone houses scattered down the hillside. In the lunar I've been on Calypso, I've slept every night in the house Zara assigned our crew. I eat about half my meals here as well, the other half in the Tabernacle with the other Nero. But it's awkward being out here in the village. The Bahiri stare and whisper to one another as I walk by. I think I make them uncomfortable, living down here with them instead of up in the Tabernacle where they think I belong. And down here, my crew is full witness to their uncomfortable behavior. They see some of them bow to me. They see the reverent way they speak to me. But I'm not leaving my family. They're here in support of me. I know them. I need them. So I'm staying with them. I swing the door open and step inside. Una is busy making food in the kitchen. She, at least, isn't as awkward as the other Bahiri. She's more like a nurturing grandmother. She offers smiles and kind words, and she's always feeding us. "How was training today?" my father asks, the same as he always does when we sit down together to eat dinner. There are mounds of vegetables and fish, pretty much the same as we eat most nights. "Fine," I answer, the same as I always answer every night. I've finally surpassed Kylie and Ronan. "Congratulations!" Zane gives a laugh and a smile, and I throw a fake punch at him. But I can finally smile about it, too. "Where's Rena?" I ask, a full 5 minutes into our meal before I realize she's gone. "She went for a walk just before you got back," Zane says around a mouthful of food. "Said she needed to clear her head." "She's needed to clear her head for the last week straight," Edan points out. He's right. She's slipped out at some point or another every night for the past week. I don't know where she's going, but considering how much she doesn't like me the majority of the time, I'm not going to ask for an explanation. So I change the subject and ask what everyone else has been up to. Zane has been working with Tomas on updating their cloaking system that keeps this planet hidden. They're working on bringing it up to speed. Dad has been busy doing maintenance on our perfect ship. He's just trying to stay busy, but really, there's nothing for him to do. There isn't a real place for him here on Calypso. But I know he's never going to leave me. When we're finished eating, Dad announces he's heading to bed. Zane goes for the shower, so I grab my auto buds, and Edan follows me outside. The sunsets here last forever. The world is so flat, with only a few islands to break up the ocean, so the sky stays awash with color for over an hour every evening. We make our way down the cliffs to the side that points toward the setting sun. "Do you like it here on Calypso?" I ask him as we both sit on the grass, our toes poking over the edge of the cliff. Edan shrugs, looking out at the ocean like it annoys him. "It's kind of boring," he says. "I guess I just got used to a life of surviving on the streets and never knowing what was going to happen the next day when I woke up. Here, I know exactly what's going to happen tomorrow, and the next day, and the one after that." I hate that feeling, I say, before I think about the words. It's exactly how I felt living back on Corpillion. I couldn't stand the routine of it. Edan nods. "And there's just nothing here. There's this one island with anything on it and a grand population of 39 people. I need something to do, or I'm gonna go stark raving mad." "What kind of Neron weapon would you want?" I ask. Because that's what I'm good at, and it's the first thing that comes to mind when I think of boredom. "Me and you can start sparring every night. Something tells me you'll be good at it." A lopsided smile cracks his ugly face. "Don't tell Zane you're putting a weapon in my hands. Pretty sure he'll learn how to sleep with his eyes open." I shake my head. He has his reasons for being such a worry barnacle, but that doesn't make it any less annoying. "How about a bat?" Edan says, as he looks out over the ocean, with some kind of spike on one end. "A bat?" I ask, disbelief in my voice. "Like, as in a club you could bash someone to death with?" That manic smile crosses Edan's face again, and he nods. "And a spike on the end to run someone through with." I let a huff whoosh out my lips with a laugh, and I shake my head. "Someday you're gonna tell me what happened on Lazeria that messed you up?" I'm not looking at him, but somehow I can feel his smile. "Yeah, someday." My mind is already spinning, thinking of plans for Edan's weird requested weapon. I'm thinking how I can make it a Neron-specific weapon, and not just an archaic piece of wood and metal. But I came out here for a reason, so I push the blueprints in my head aside, and I pull out my auto buds. I hand one to Edan, and we both stick one in our ears. I bring my arm up and wake the screen of my Connect link. I tap the icon for the black hole of truth. It feels like forever since I gave any good news on this spacecast. Arden's voice comes through clear and strong. I smile at hearing her voice. I've never met the woman, and likely never will, but she feels like a good friend. And I think it's about slam time we had something to celebrate over. I tuck my knees into my chest and wrap my arms around them. "A new planet was discovered 2 days ago," she says, and I swear I can hear her smiling. "Out in the D sector, fresh and clean as a newborn baby after its first bath. A new planet with an atmosphere, water, vegetation, wildlife, and the best news of all, not a speck of Neron was found on it." My eyebrows rise. I hit pause on the spacecast. "I thought we'd scanned everywhere in the galaxy," I say in part to Edan, part to myself. That seems near impossible that we've just discovered a new planet. "It's a big galaxy," he says, looking out over the ocean. "Who knows what's hidden in the folds and pockets of space that we haven't found yet?" I nod. It's true. Logically, I understand this, that the galaxy is so vast I can't comprehend it. But it just seems impossible that with the space exploration programs in place and the scanner crafts that have been searching every part of the galaxy for hundreds of solars, that somehow we are still discovering new things about the Eon galaxy. "Of course, now it's a race to see who can claim the planet first," Arden continues when I start up the cast again. "Of course, it won't be long until some development corporation takes it and starts using it to make billions. But in a galaxy where we are only losing planets to live on because of Neron and Dominion, this is huge." I nod. It sounds like a perfect place to start over. A clean slate in every way. Maybe I should send my crew away to it. It isn't even that far away. It would only take them a lunar and a half to get there. "But all the news can't be great, right?" Arden Black says, whipping me out of my own thoughts. "Things continue to worsen on Corpillion. The economy has officially collapsed as of last week. Only 50% of the population has managed to evacuate the planet. And that's 50% of those who have survived the blast." Not long ago, something bad happened on Corpillion. There are 2 power companies who run the whole planet. I once worked for Horn Energy on the northern hemisphere. Claw Energy, on the southern, imploded, killing more than 10 million people. I know it wasn't an accident. There are just too many safety measures in place. I designed 10% of them myself. I know they couldn't have failed. So the remainder of the population has been sucked into Dominion's service. Their minds are already running 10 kilometers deep. People, I don't know if you've ever seen images of that planet, but I can tell you it was coast-to-coast skyscrapers. And now everything within 10 kilometers of where Dominion found that illegal mine is leveled, gutted. Was that close to where you lived? Edan asks, hitting the pause button. I nod my head. It was only about 4 kilometers away. If it's everything within 10, that would be my old work, too. What are they doing for power if they've ripped Horn Energy out? Have they just thrown everyone off the grid? It makes my stomach sick. That Dominion can be so heartless and self-centered. There are still billions of people stuck on that planet. Sounds like you got off just in time, Edan says as he pushes play once more. And speaking of that mine, Arden continues, Dominion has upped the reward for the capture of Rena McDyer by 10%. And that woman, the one from all the pictures with the mask, the weapons manufacturer, the reward for bringing her to Cerilius was doubled today. My blood goes ice cold. Why? I say, shaking my head. Why would Cerilius want me so bad? I'm nothing. I'm not the only Neron weapons maker in the galaxy. He can't know I can do what I can do. Why would he want me? Calm down, you maniac, Edan says, furrowing his brows and putting an arm around my shoulders. Probably just a big fan of your work. Maybe he wants you to make something for him. Cerilius will use you, Valen had warned me once, and then kill you. Use you. It doesn't really make me feel any better, but it does explain things just a little. There really can't be any other reason. Seeing that I'm thinking about what he said, Edan presses play. So stay safe, Rena McDyer and mysterious masked woman, she says. I pray to the stars that Valen Nero isn't looking for you, because no one has seen a trace of him in the last 2 weeks. And I can only imagine what he'll do if he finds either of you. A wave of goosebumps flashes over my skin, and Arden signs off. Valen hasn't been seen in 2 weeks. Never mind what I said earlier, Edan says as he takes his Autobot out and hands it to me. Calypso might be mighty boring, but the rest of the galaxy is bat-slag crazy. He climbs to his feet and extends a hand to me. Guess I'll just take up diving for sharks as my new hobby and learn to deal with this new safe and sound life. I offer a little amused smile, but really, I hardly heard a word he said. And I don't hear any of the others he says as we walk back to the house. I don't even remember to say goodnight before I slip into my bedroom and shut the door behind me. I don't even undress for bed. I lie on my back, staring up at the ceiling, my booted feet hanging over the end of the bed. Over the past lunar, I've forced myself not to think of Valen. I've made myself ignore that door in my brain. I've pretended that other presence in my mind was not there. But hearing his name just now, it's all I can think about. It echoes through my mind like it was shouted in a giant cave. Valen. 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 I press the heels of my hands into my eyes, trying to blot out the memories. But they still come. They crush over me with the strength of a tidal wave. Our lunars of speaking to one another, the deep conversations, the trust, the excitement at hearing his voice, and then seeing him for the first time on Corpillion. I can't forget the rush of excitement and attraction that washed through me when he'd taken off his mask. I can't forget how he healed me with the Neron, how he cleared the path for me to escape, how he made it possible for me and my family to get off Corpillion and get somewhere safe. Emotions well in my eyes when I remember how he immediately came for me when I asked him. I hadn't been so excited for anything in so long as I anticipated his arrival for those 6 days. And then when he arrived, and when I saw him once more, and when he cracked my version of right and wrong, when he showed me his history, his time on Starvis, his beatings in the Dominion army, the manipulation he withstood from Cerilius. And I will never, ever forget the kiss we shared. It fractured my soul. I've felt broken since then, and I know it, like I know I breathe oxygen, that I'm never going to be put back together. Because I felt everything in his arms. I felt my future, and I felt his, and I felt destiny. But then I'd pleaded with him, I'd screamed at him, I'd made threats. Valen didn't leave Cerilius. No one has seen a trace of him in the last 2 weeks. The words Arden spoke echo back through my brain. I sit straight up in my bed, and my thoughts are spinning out of control. What if? I squeeze my eyes closed once more and flop back onto the bed. No, I tell myself, there's not a chance. Valen told me that he couldn't leave Cerilius, and I believed him. I know he wasn't guessing. He wasn't unsure about what he said. My throat feels tight. It's hard to breathe, but I don't want to breathe right now. I hate myself. I want to be stronger. But I can't lie to myself. I want Valen to be looking for me. I want him to have left Dominion. I want him here. I want him in this bed. I want his arms around me. I want his breath against my neck. I want to run my hands up his bare back, pulling him closer to me. I want everything. But I still know. I know reality. I know the truth. Valen has free will. He's the most powerful being in the galaxy. If he wanted to leave Cerilius, he could. If he didn't want to kill thousands of people, he wouldn't. Valen Nero is an evil man. So I can't be in love with him. 4. I feel a soft hand on my skin, and my eyes slide open. I find myself nose to nose with the most beautiful face I've ever seen. I stare into a set of Neron blue eyes. Valen. His name whispers over my lips with reverence and desperation. Please come with me, Nova. He says the words like a prayer. I'm not the only desperate one. I promise I will make it all worth it. I promise that I can be what you need. I sit up in the bed, and Valen backs up only slightly. I can't stop myself when I raise a hand, brushing his black hair back from his face. I can't, Valen. I still have so much to learn. I'm not ready to leave. He reaches up and covers my hand with his, holding my palm against his face. I can teach you everything you need to know, Nova. I swear to you, I can be your teacher and I will never leave you alone. His words pull agony and desire and loneliness from the pit of my stomach into my broken heart. Valen, I whisper as I break.
Nova.
He says my name, and I see in his eyes he's been breaking too. This time, this distance has been torture.
I can't do it anymore. All I think about is you. I can't eat. I hardly sleep anymore. Nothing else occupies my mind anymore. I can't do it a day longer.
His expression is fractured. His beautiful face is contorted in pain and desperation. He looks exactly how I feel.
Please come with me, Nova.
I'm powerless when he says my name. I look into his Neron blue eyes, and I'm done. I bite my lower lip slightly to hold myself together, and I nod. The relief and gratitude in his eyes could convert the most cold-hearted person in the galaxy to believe in predestined partners. It floods me with peace, with happiness, with love. I take Valen's hand, and quietly, we walk through the stone house. I follow him out the door, and together, hand in hand, we walk to his ship, into the Black Arrow.
You can do this, Nova.
A soft but rough voice says low in my ear.
We're almost finished. Just focus.
I feel his hands on my arms, warm and strong. I raise my hands, concentrating on the ground beneath my feet. I reach out. I feel. I grab hold of the Neron with my will, and I pull. The ground raises and takes form. The building before me takes shape, rearranging with the material I add to it. I move the earth. I shape it to my will. And then, it's done. I drop my hands, and an exhausted breath slips between my lips.
You did it,
he says, and I hear the pride in his voice. A beautiful, quaint cottage sits in front of me, made of soft gray stone and a slate roof. There are windows and a door and a fireplace. It's perfect, just for the two of us.
Come with me,
he says quietly again. His hand slips into mine, and we step forward together. He reaches out and opens the door. But before I can step inside, Valen sweeps me up into his arms. I give a shriek of surprise, but he just laughs and looks down at me with the galaxy's most incredible smile.
Welcome home, Nova,
he says softly as he steps across the threshold. I don't even look around at it. It could never be as incredible as the miracle I'm currently looking at. I bring a hand up to the side of his face, and even though he's holding me, even though I'm touching him, it isn't enough. I can't ever get enough. The look in his eyes deepens, and I see the hunger forming in him. His grip on me tightens, and his breath speeds up. Valen. His name whispers across my lips in a breath. With haste, he crosses the space, and then we're through another door. He lowers me, and then my back is against something soft, but I can't process the bed or the room. My hands slip into Valen's hair, and I'm pulling his mouth to mine as his lips take command, claiming my own. Desperately, I pull him down to me, and his knee presses into the bed between my legs. He snakes one hand behind my back and hoists me further up on the bed, lying me flat beneath him. My hands greedily slide down, slipping beneath his tunic, finding toned, hard skin. His hand slides up, tangling in my hair as he lowers most of his weight down onto me. His lips are not gentle. They take mine. He pulls. His tongue lays its claim. I breathe him. He is everywhere. On my body. In my mind. in my heart. Valen, I whisper in my mind, letting him hear me say his name. Nova, I hear him echo into my own brain. Don't ever let me go, I beg him. Never, he promises. I've just finished cooking breakfast when a knock on the door sounds. With his long legs, Valen strides out of the bedroom and goes to it. He pulls it open, and before I even see his face, I feel the air in the room grow heavier. Valen gives a small bow, and my chest tightens as Cerilius steps inside. I hope you have enjoyed your time here, he says, and he looks totally different. His expression is light. He wears a pleasant, genuine-looking smile. He walks to the kitchen counter like he's a friend visiting. It is such a lovely home the two of you have created together. Valen comes to stand at my side, wrapping an arm around my waist. I look up at him, but he does not seem concerned. There is no weight on his shoulders. He looks at Cerilius, waiting for whatever he will say next. There is still work to be done, Cerilius says, and in his voice, I hear weight. I hear how tired he is. I hear responsibility. The galaxy will always need you, Valen, and with the two of you, we can accomplish so much more than before. My brows begin to furrow, and I look up at Valen. He looks down at me, and I see it all there in his eyes. The hard life he has always lived, the dark circumstances. But here, looking at me, I see peace in him. I see a purpose. I see a man who is finally alive. Always together? He asks me. He's searching for that promise. And looking up at him, the anxiety in my heart subsides. There will always be darkness in this galaxy. There will always be hardship and trials. But as long as we are together, I can make it through anything. As long as we get to come back here, back home, and be in each other's arms. Always, I promise. He bends and presses his lips to mine, pulling me in close, and I know that as long as we're together, it doesn't matter what else happens. He releases me, and I see Cerilius smiling at us proudly. Come, he says as he turns toward the door. There is no time to waste. Hand in hand, Valen and I follow him out the door and across the field of grass to the open hatch of the Dominion. No! I yell at the two figures walking into the massive Class 1 ship. No! No! I extend a hand out toward them, fear and horror gripping me from head to toe. But there is no Valen to grab, no me walking senselessly to join an evil corporation. Only cool, dark air. I suck in a breath as it all washes over me. Nova? My father rushes through the door, nearly ripping it from its hinges. Nova, what's wrong? He sits on the edge of my bed, gripping my upper arms, looking me over for signs of damage. But I hardly see his face. Time punches my heart, and a sense of loss drowns me. Lunars. The dream, the vision, felt like lunars. It felt so real. It felt so tangible. I was there in our home. I could feel the Neron I used to help Valen build it. I can still feel his hands on me, still taste him on my lips. But none of it was real. Our life, everything we built in those lunars, none of it was real. No. The word breaks over my lips as emotions crack me. Tears rip from my eyes, and I feel myself trembling all over.
My father's rough hands on my arms are not Valen's hands. This rough and uncomfortable bed is not the one I share with Valen on another planet far from here. No. The word fractures as it crosses my lips. Nova, my father says, concern ripping across my name. But it's not Valen saying it, reverent as a prayer. None of it was real. No, I cry as I collapse into my father's arms, and I completely fall apart. Five. I know he is here, I growl, staring at Zara from across her desk. I need to speak to him. You have no idea how important it is. Then why don't you tell me the details? She says, looking at me from under her lashes. Her expression is hard, her mouth set firm. It's private, I say, losing a little bit of my hot air. Will you please just let me see Evander? I have to speak to him. You can't help me with this. She glares at me, and I can see the evaluation she's executing right now. In the entire lunar I've been here on Calypso, I've never once seen Valen Nero, but I know it in my bones that he's here. Please, Zara, I say quietly. Emotions well in my eyes, which makes me angry, but I'm too filled to the brim to stop them. Please, let me speak to him. She looks at me for 5 more seconds, and my stomach sinks. There's a reason Evander is hidden away, even from us students. She'll never expose him. But suddenly, she stands and crosses her office to the door. Come with me, she says softly. My heart breaks out into a flutter. Not wasting a second for her to change her mind, I hurry after her. She immediately heads to the stairs, rising up to the 3rd floor of the Tabernacle, and then on to the 4th. She looks back at me, pressing a finger to her lips for me to be quiet, making me promise to never breathe a word of what I'm about to see. I nod. She goes to the enormous painting of the Eon galaxy and swings it out, revealing a door. Leave your expectations here once you enter his chambers, Zara says quietly, her hand resting on the knob. Evander has never been seemingly normal. He is often unaware of what timeline he is in. If he seems odd, he is, and he isn't. But we have learned more about the future of mankind from him than all the other Nero before him. You will treat him with the respect he deserves. I nod. Zara takes one breath, locking eyes with me. You are something special, Nova. Do you realize that? Her suddenly serious statement jars me. My jaw tightens, and I feel a weight sink onto my shoulders. I shake my head. I am nothing. Before she can argue with me, I take the knob and turn it, pushing it open, and step inside. I find myself on another set of stairs. The lighting is dim, even though my surroundings are the same white stone. The light is up ahead, and swallowing my nerves, I ascend the stairs. It smells musty up here, like that door and the windows haven't been open in a solar. The room is dim because there have been curtains pulled over most of them, and light only peeks through in small slivers between sheets of green and red and yellow fabric. I turn when I reach the top of the stairs, surveying the space. There is only this one room here at the top of the Tabernacle. As far as I can see, there are windows surrounding the entire room, but all of them are covered. There's a bed pushed into the far side of it,
A row of bookcases stuffed to the max is against another wall. There's a desk next to the stairs, its surface covered with books. A massive rug is spread over the floor. Sitting in a chair, looking behind the curtains out at the lightening day, is a figure. "I'm sorry to bother you, Valen Nero," I say, bowing my head slightly. I stop just beyond the stairs, not quite in the room, and close enough I can make an escape if I need to. If I startle him, he doesn't give an outward show of it. He takes a breath and drops the curtain, turning his frame toward me. "I've been waiting for you to come, Nova," he says. I strain my eyes to make out his features in the dim light. But as his features come into focus and my eyes adjust, I wonder for a minute if Zara has tricked me. I expected an old man with white hair and wrinkles and a bent back. But the man in the chair doesn't look a day over 35 solars. His frame is tall and straight. Dark auburn hair sits a mess atop his head. His lips are thin and wide, and I think those are freckles that line his entire face. His brows are drawn in, but I'm pretty sure he just looks permanently concerned. "You're Evander?" I question, before I can think to contain my rude question. "It's strange, I know," he says. His voice has an interesting tone to it. It's just slightly nasally, a touch higher than I expected, and he sounds a little unsure of himself for some reason. "Everyone always expects an old, crooked man. If I am to be cursed by Neron, at least there are a few benefits." I had almost forgotten that the Nero are always in perfect health, because Neron can heal you, and we constantly draw it into ourselves. It can very nearly stop the effects of aging. Valen Nero is 87 solars old, but he looks far, far from it. "I'm sorry," I babble. I've heard so many stories. I guess I just had this picture in my head. I shake my head. I'm not making things any better. "It's really nice to meet you." He offers me a small smile, and it makes me feel a little more at ease. "Why don't you come in and sit down?" I'm already in the room, but I'm still lingering by the stairs like I'm going to run away if he sneezes in the wrong way. Awkwardly, I step in and go to sit in the other chair by another window, putting us just 3 feet apart from one another. Evander looks at me, but there's this unfocused look in his eyes, like he can't quite find my face. "Is this the time when you ask me about visions, or if you must kill him?" My blood turns into ice. My stomach disappears altogether, and a crack forms right down the middle of my chest. "What?" I ask, around the huge lump in my throat. "The visions, then," Evander concludes, nodding his head as if he's just figured something out, but I'm still kilometers behind what he just said. "If you came to ask me if dreams can also be visions of the future," he says, cutting me off. He leans forward, resting his elbows on his knees. He wears black from head to toe. His eyes rise up to meet mine, and this time, he actually seems to see me. "You have had a vision of the future already, yes?" I sit so still in my chair. My emotions are raging through me, and I don't know how to react, and my brain can't think straight to ask the questions I need to get answers to. But I can answer his question. "I think so," I say. I take a breath, and I decide right here. Evander has apparently seen many of my futures. I have to be honest with him. When Valen Nero and I first met on Corpillion, when we touched, I saw something that felt so real. I felt devastated when it ended. I hesitate. I don't know how to put it all into words. I want to keep it to myself, hold it in close. I've never felt anything like that. And what did you see in this vision? He asks, narrowing his eyes at me slightly. I saw us, I confess, the words coming out in a quiet breath. I saw us together, I know, as husband and wife. We were ruling together. And there was this planet, I don't know how I know it, but somehow I do. We ruined it together. And your dream, did it feel the same? Evander asks me. He's so calm about it. I hate that he's so calm, because I feel like a mess, a raging storm with no idea where the shore is anymore. Sort of, I say, my brows furrowing as I force myself to think about it. It still felt so real. I fell apart when I woke up and realized none of it was real. I lived it. But it didn't make sense, not like the other one did. It had things that just didn't make sense like a dream does, and it was like I experienced lunars in just hours. It felt like a dream, but more. I look up at Evander again, and he's studying me in this strange, blank way. I have to remember what Zara said, that he's odd. But he can't help it when he's in a constant state of seeing multiple futures. It is possible for Neros to see a version of the future while dreaming, Evander says. It isn't usually a true vision, a true prediction. As you said, they don't always make sense. We don't ask questions we normally would. Time does not line up in a logical way. But our minds can touch the future when we sleep. If my dream was a vision of the future, Valen Nero will be coming here to Calypso any time now, I say. My voice quakes, and my heart aches. I want that. With everything in me, I want to know that he is on his way, and that in just a few hours, or even days, he'll be holding me in his arms. But I have to remember the last part of the dream, when Cerilius came, and Valen went with him, and so did I. The future may be predicted, Evander says, but none of those predictions are ever guaranteed. We always have our free will. We can always change it. Every decision we make alters the future by small degrees. With his words, he calms my storm, just like that. I have a choice. Valen does not know where I am. He is not on his way here. And he won't come. Not unless I ask him to. That vision won't come true unless I put it into motion. My insides are cracking. I feel as if I am fracturing. I'm tearing in half, and I don't recognize the person who's left. She's not a whole person. She's a tattered quilt, missing big pieces, and she can't keep anyone warm in this state. You asked me if I was here to ask you about visions or if I must kill him. I say, my voice sounding hollow. I meet his eyes once more. If it comes to it, I don't think I can ever be the one who has to do it. Evander leans forward and takes my hand in his. And I get this impression that washes over me of light, of air, peace. Before me, there are two simple silhouettes, a man and a woman. I know it's me and Valen. We're surrounded by celestial light. A feeling flutters through my stomach. Happiness, peace, ease. Then you must do whatever it takes to change your fate, Nova Nero, Evander says. And his. No, The word slips from my lips as Evander sits back and releases my hand, and the vision vanishes. No, please, I beg through welling eyes. Let me see it again, just for a minute longer. It is already gone, Evander says, shaking his head. But you have that power, Nova. We all do. With every little decision, we affect the trajectory of the future by leagues. As if he has a headache, he leans forward, bracing his head in his hands. But I'm not finished. Your prophecy, I say, feeling desperate, like time is running out. You once said a Nero would come and set Neron free, that someone would bring the galaxy back from the edge of destruction. I need you to tell me it isn't me. I need you to tell me that it's about Kylie or Quentin or Nimia. Please, tell me it wasn't about me. Evander doesn't look up, but his voice fills the entire space, clear as day. It will be whoever is ready. Whoever is willing to fight for it. Whoever is willing to sacrifice. Sacrifice. The word echoes in my skull over and over. I stare at him, feeling terrified of the word. Evander might not be saying it again, but it's the only word that exists in my brain. I feel the time run out, and I know I need to leave. Evander is obviously consumed by more visions of the future. I can feel the power radiating off him, and pain, suffering. So I stand. I tell myself that I need to realize he is just a man. He is a man who's done incredible things with his life. But right now, I feel sorry for him. He can't even be in the present. His abilities have consumed him as a person. Thank you, I say quietly, even though I don't feel any better. I don't feel as if I gained much more clarity. But still, I cross the space. I look back just once. Evander sits bent over in his chair, holding his head, utterly silent and still, trapped in his own mind. In a different time. He doesn't respond. So I walk down the stairs and seal him in his prison, alone. 6. You need to take a break, Nova, or you're going to completely burn yourself out. Kyril calls after me. I can handle myself, I yell, though I don't look back at him. I know when I've reached my limits. Stop trying to be my father. I don't know if he even hears that last part, but I don't care. I don't need to stop. I don't need a break. Maybe Quinton is done for the day. Maybe Ronan is tired. Maybe Nimia is sick of training. But I am not done. I have too much to do, too much to learn. I stalk down the ridge of the island, out toward what I think of as the northeastern tip. When I reach the edge of the sand and the water, I place my palms down, parallel with the ground, and I don't hesitate when I step onto the water. The bottoms of my boots grow damp, but I don't stop. Using all of my concentration, I keep my palms flat, gathering the Neron in the water beneath my feet, supporting my weight. It took me 3 weeks to learn this. I'm still working every day to master it. But I can forge earth now. I can walk on water. I can move smaller objects to my will. I'm within a week of catching up to Quinton in skill. I reach the shore of one of the smaller islands and step out onto the rocky shore. I climb the land, following the ridge. It climbs up sharply, and I trail it until I reach the rocky ledge of the cliff. I stand with my toes just an inch from the ledge, and 4 small rocks break off, bouncing down the face of it until they splash into the ocean. I take a deep breath, letting my eyes slide closed. I search inside, looking for calm, for peace. It's best to be calm and peaceful when wielding Neron. That's what Keary says, especially when still learning. But that feels impossible these days. I've been a manic kakshi lately, I know that. Ever since I spoke with Evander, since he told me I could change my future, I've thrown myself into training. I'm up an hour before dawn, working on my own. I'm throwing myself into Zara's lessons and working hardest during Keiril's. And I'm pushing myself harder and harder every evening, until I collapse into bed every night. My crew is getting restless. Their lives are on hold. They have no purpose right now. I can feel how much they want to move on, but they're stuck here with me. I need to learn everything I can as quickly as I can. But I know it. I know I will not stay on Calypso. I won't hide here for my whole life like Zara and Keary and Evander have. I have other things I have to do. I have another destiny than just teaching other Nero. Standing on the edge of the cliff, I let my soul expand. I let it search. I feel Neron beginning to gather around my hands, a burning and warm and wonderful feeling. I extend my hands up, sending the Neron out, up, reaching, gathering. Come, I think. Rise. Collect. My entire body feels full of fire when I open my eyes. The ground beneath my feet is glowing brilliant blue. The air is charged and alive, too. But my eyes turn to the sky. There, just above me, is a dark cloud, where just minutes ago, the sky was clear and blue. I take a deep breath, drawing more energy into myself. As I breathe in, the dark cloud grows larger. As I breathe out, it becomes blacker. My hands are trembling, but I force them to stay strong. I can do this. I have to do this. I have to become greater, better. I close my eyes again, pushing myself even further. I feel the temperature around me rise, heated by the Neron I pull to my location, because Neron is energy. I open my eyes, and a bolt of lightning streaks from the sky, races down the face of the cliff, and strikes the sand at the water's edge. I startle, but I don't ease my grip on the storm cloud I've managed to form. Clenching my jaw, I press harder, calling even more Neron, raising the temperature. And in just a split second, I feel it. The bolt beginning to form. So I release the cloud, and I throw my hands out, mentally gripping the lightning. And I push everything I have into it. My life, my soul. In the blink of an eye, it happens. And I know I'm capable of anything. The lightning implodes, streaking out across the sky in every direction, stretching as far as my eyes can see, illuminating the entire world in brilliant white light. And then I collapse to the ground. 7. My heart is racing as the maid sets the veil in my hair, the very last touch. She straightens it, letting its shimmery form cascade down my back. I look at myself in the mirror, marveling over the piece of craftsmanship I'm wearing. The red dress hugs my form in all the right places, before fanning out just below my hips. Neron-infused threads give the entire piece a luminous glow. Waves of fabric cascade behind me, fanning out just below my exposed back. My face has been given a touch of makeup, accentuating my natural features, but accompanied by a black band across my eyes. "It is time, my lady." a woman says from the door behind me. Once more, my heart leaps into my throat and sweat breaks out onto my palms. But a smile pulls on my lips. It's time. Finally. I follow her to the door, and we step out into a hall. Silently, I follow her through it. Just the two of us. Everyone I hoped would be here isn't. None of them. I'm here alone. But not alone. Today, two become one, in all the legal ways. Ahead, there's a door, big and grand. It soars 4 stories high. 2 guards wait there, watching me in my dress as I approach. Smile, the woman says when we pause on this side of the door for a moment. The entire galaxy is watching. She offers me her own smile, and gently, she places something in my hands. A black crown. I cradle it gently in my hands before me, and I do smile. It's real. Because as the guards open the doors and I step through alone, I see him. My eyes don't go anywhere else. Immediately they lock on him. There are thousands of people gathered to witness the event, the most exciting one in all our history. The marriage of 2 Nero, joining in union. There are cameras everywhere, there are diplomats, and the galaxy's most important kings and queens and presidents. I'd suspect Arden Black is even here somewhere, among the masses. But all I see is Valen. A smile splits my face as I look at him standing down at the end of this long aisle. He stands so tall and proud and so above everyone else in the hall. He too wears red, a suit that's regal and severe. Held in his own hands is another black crown. I love the look in his eyes as I walk toward him. I love the depth and the passion. I love the life in him. I love the power that I can feel gathering in the hall. I love the energy that naturally draws to us when we're together. The room grows brighter as Neron floods into it. Everything is cast in a blue glow. Closer and closer I walk, balancing the crown at chest height, carrying it carefully. 10 feet away. 8. 5. And everything in me falls still as I step up onto the platform and stand before the man I love more than anything else in this galaxy. Valen, I whisper in my mind. Nova, he answers me in a way that no one but the two of us can hear. I love you, I confess. I love only you. He breathes into my soul. I don't hear the thousands that surround us. I don't hear the subtle hum all the cameras are creating. I don't feel the pressure of an entire galaxy full of eyes watching me. I'm here, with him. Cerilius speaks words, but I don't really hear them. Things about promises and love and power and destiny. I keep looking into Valen's Neron blue eyes. I let this feeling of completeness wash through me. I smile at his wandering eyes. I look at his lips, knowing how they're going to taste later. I'm looking at the veins in his hands. Imagine all the places on my body they're going to explore. Do you swear yourself to him for the rest of forever? Cerilius asks, and thankfully I grasp his words just in time. I swear myself to you, Valen. I promise, never breaking eye contact as I seal myself to him, taking half a step closer to him. Do you swear yourself to her for the rest of forever? Cerilius says the words to Valen.
I swear every part of myself to you, Nova.
Valen deepens the promise. The heat in his eyes intensifies, and he, too, comes half a step closer.
Then I declare you sworn together, Lord and Lady Nero,
Cerilius declares. Together, we both raise our arms, and in a synchronized movement, we place the crowns on one another's heads. And his hands drop to the sides of my neck, and my hands go to his chest, and it's the most natural thing in the entire galaxy when my lips meet his, and his consume mine. I've never, ever been happier. Together, man and wife, forever and always, married to the man I will always love. Nova? I take in a quick breath, startled at the voice. Nova, wake up! Hands grip my upper arms, shaking me, and with a gasping breath, my eyes fly open. The ceiling above me is dim. The air is cooler than it was just a moment ago, and it's quiet. So quiet. And there are no lips on mine. No hands cradling either side of my neck. There is no crown on my head, no beautiful dress filling the space. Valen is not here. No, I say. The word cracks out of me, fracturing almost instantly. No, not again. No. Tears instantly well in my eyes, and I roll to my side, curling into the fetal position, trying to keep myself from falling apart as reality hits me that I did not just marry Valen, that we are not on the precipice of our life together. A sob breaks out of me, and I cover my face with my hands, curling smaller and smaller. Nova, a voice asks, hesitant now instead of demanding. What is going on? I know that voice, and it's not one that should be here. It should be somewhere else, millions of leagues away. Not here, on Calypso, with Zara leaping down my throat. Nova, she says, and I feel her touch my arm. Get off of me! I scream, whipping my arm away from her. I sit up, scrambling back from her. My back smacks against a wall, startling me, rocking me back into the present. I breathe hard and fast, and finally the dream vision crumbles, and I begin to see the reality that surrounds me. Zara stands in front of me, looking at me with furrowed brows and concerned but angry eyes. Keary is on the other side of the room, looking extremely confused and concerned. No, I say once more, small and quiet. 2 tears slip down my face. I squeeze my eyes closed, shaking my head as I tuck my knees into my chest and rest my forehead on them. This is going to kill me. Seeing these possible futures, living them, only to wake over and over again to find none of it was real. None of it is possible. It's going to break me. It's going to shatter me. It's going to kill me. What did you dream of, Nova? A kind voice asks. Keary. I shake my head. I can't tell them. I can never tell anyone, except maybe Evander. If I tell them, they will know. They will know how tempted I am to do whatever it takes to make our future a reality. They will know I'm not the good person I wish I were. They would never look at me the same. You have to slow down, Nova. Zara's voice reaches my ears, her tone firm and slightly angry, and a little questioning. If you don't, you're going to kill yourself. You might hurt others. What I just did was nothing.
My head snaps up as anger floods through me. I jump to my feet, snapping back into the moment. What I did was something I should have been able to do a long time ago. The clock is ticking every single second, and things are coming, and I have to be prepared. I take a step forward, getting into Zara's personal space. The galaxy is falling apart out there, I say, taking another step forward, forcing her to take one backward. People are dying by the millions. We, the Nero, can do something about it. There might only be a few of us, but we could change things. We could change the future of the galaxy, and you are hiding here like a coward. I see a gauntlet of emotions flash through her eyes at my accusations, but she doesn't get a chance to speak. I will not sit by and do nothing, I say, my voice dropping in volume. What we can do, how can you just hide here and let Dominion ruin the only place we have to live? But I don't give her a chance to answer. I step back, aiming toward the door. I have to catch up, I say. I hesitate there, but don't turn back to either of them. If I burn myself out, so be it, but I will do what I have to, learn what I have to. And then I'm going to stop Cerilius, no matter what it takes. I step out of the room and leave them without another word. 8. We've been on Calypso for 2 lunars, I say at dinner. We're eating much later than normal, but considering I spent most of the evening unconscious and then getting up in Zara's face, it's late. I still need some time to learn, but I'm not staying here. And where are we going to go after this? Torin asks, after he swallows his vegetables. I shake my head. I don't know exactly, but I know we're needed elsewhere. What is that supposed to mean? Zane asks, a furrow forming between his brows. It means that I think we need to do something more with our lives than look for a nice, safe place to live. I snap. I slap a hand down on the tabletop, rattling all the dishes. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I do know I can't just ignore everything and try to live happily ever after. They all look at me in stunned silence. I'm a ticking bomb right now, and they all know not to set me off. Plan on being here for another lunar, I say, moving on. I could stay here for solars learning everything I can, but I need experience out there, in the field. So don't get too comfortable. I finish my last 2 bites and get up from the table. Without another word, I step back outside. It's still warm outside, and I wonder if there are any different seasons here on Calypso. It's always a comfortable temperature. It rains occasionally, and it gets windy every now and then. But for the most part, it's always calm and comfortable. I should take advantage of the safety and ease of living here. I could live the rest of my life here in quiet learning. But I feel this itch under my skin, ever since my last vision. Life on Calypso is small. I know I'm supposed to do something bigger. It could be ruling in darkness next to Valen. Or it could be using it to take down Dominion. Long, short. My life could be either. But I have to use my time for something more. I round my way back to the house and go to the window at the back, against the hillside. Peeking inside, I see that he's just walked in and closed the door. I rap on the window, and he jumps slightly, his eyes whipping to meet mine. I make a motion for him to come outside, and I love that he doesn't hesitate to come to the window and climb out of it. I press my finger to my lips for him to be quiet, and motion for him to follow me. Together, we walk toward the cliffs, to where we listened to the black hole of truth just a few weeks ago.
We stand at the edge when we reach the cliff, looking out over the ocean. "I've seen the future, Edan," I say. I'm sure he can barely hear my voice over the sound of the wind rushing from the ocean up the face of the cliff before blasting in our faces. I know where my destiny lies. "And where's that?" he asks. There's no judgment in his voice. He just asks for facts. "With Valen Nero," I say, looking over to meet his eyes. As his wife, ruling by his side. He doesn't say anything right away. He looks at me, digesting the words I just said. He turns them over, examining their weight. "Do you know him yet?" I hesitate for just a moment, but I nod. We've only been in each other's presence twice, but I can talk to him whenever I want. "A Nero connection," Edan says. And once more, I have to wonder how he knows as much as he does when I plucked him off the streets of Laziria, about to die for stealing food. I nod again. I could be a powerful person, I say. And it's such a relief telling all this to someone, saying the truth, confessing all my sins. I could be a queen, crowned by Cerilius himself. I could be happy. I could be in love deeper than the galaxy has ever seen before. A tear pushes its way out onto my cheek. I don't make a move to wipe it away. I see Edan's eyes watching it as it slowly slips down my face. "But you're not like him," Edan says, finding the words I cannot. "You would never mindlessly follow Cerilius. You're not a dictator." I swallow once. I'm in so much pain right now. More pain than I've ever been in my whole life. I have to learn as much as I can over the next lunar, I say. I stand taller. I roll my shoulders back. Because in one lunar, I'm leaving this planet and I'm going to find a way to kill Cerilius. Edan meets my eyes, and for the first time in a long time, I feel accepted. Edan takes me at face value. He doesn't judge me. He doesn't try to tell me what to do. I know the others won't let me do it, I say, my eyes flicking back in the direction of the house momentarily. They'll do anything they can to try and stop me. But if they do, you might change your mind, Edan says, looking at me with his tired eyes. Because even though you've only been with him twice, you've seen your future with him, and you're in love with Valen Nero. It's like he shoots me in the heart, pierces it all the way through, letting it bleed out into my chest cavity. I can't confirm it out loud, and I can't deny it, because I know it's true. I have to change the future, Edan, I say. I duck behind the rocks behind me and remove the weapon I hid there yesterday. It's a club on one end, and it narrows down to a point on the other, making it nearly 5 feet long. The tip of it is made of solid Neron. There are lines tracing up the sides of the club, and the center of it holds a Neron core. He could crack this entire island if he took a swing at it. I extend it to him. I know we're only becoming friends, I say as he takes it, a look of awe on his face. I know you don't have anything to do with all of this, but I'm asking because even though everyone else back at the house is my family, has known me for solars, you're the only one I think can envision the galaxy actually changing. And you're the only one crazy enough to help me do it. If I go to try and kill Cerilius, will you come with me, Edan? With manic wonder in his eyes, Edan eyes his weapon up and down like it's a naked lover. And with a wild gleam, he meets my gaze again.
I'll tear every Dominion soldier limb from limb with you, Nova Nero,
he swears. He tips his head slightly, a bow I'm not sure I deserve.
I'm with you until my last ragged breath.
9. I've had some exhausting days, but this is possibly the most tired I've ever been. I lie down on my uncomfortable bed, alone in this small room with stone walls. I don't even look up at the ceiling, don't stare at it for nearly an hour like I normally do every night. I'm physically exhausted from training all day. Harnessing the lightning took everything I had, and apparently everything I didn't, since I fell unconscious. But more than anything, I'm mentally exhausted. I've run the gauntlet of emotions today. I've been scolded, scrutinized, questioned. I've been loved, worshipped, married, and then left alone. I'm almost too tired to sleep. But I adjust my position in the bed, lying on my back, and let one arm flop over my eyes, telling myself not to think about anything. I focus on the black of the inside of my eyelids. I focus on how heavy I feel. I focus on the warmth of the thin blanket pulled over my body. I swear. My eyes fly open, staring at the dark ceiling. But I know I won't find anyone in the room. I'm still alone in it.
Nova, I promise I'm doing everything I can.
My heart races in my chest, and my whole body breaks out into a cold sweat. Valen! I hear him. He's there again, after so long, in my head. His voice sends an aching wave through me, and I feel so empty, so alone. I've felt his hands on me. I've had his lips on me, both in real life and in my recent dreams. But I cling to what I have. I cling to the sound of his voice. Valen, I think back. I don't say anything more, because I don't know what to say. My eyes slide closed, and I let myself sink toward that door between our minds, the one that has been shut for nearly 3 lunars now. And it's so easy. I find it open, cracked, just waiting for me. Everything grows lighter, brighter. I see 2 figures, but the one is out of focus. So is everything else. I can barely make out a structure, a home maybe. We're surrounded by gardens and mountains, but I can't make out any details. Just light. And there, standing just outside the door of the structure, is Valen. Only he looks so different. I've only ever seen him wear black, the uniform of Dominion, or red from the dream vision of our wedding. But now, he's wearing pale gray and blue. He looks so casual, so normal, like any other citizen of the Eon Galaxy. He's facing that other blurry figure. I hear noise, maybe a voice, but it too seems blurry, distorted and incomprehensible. It speaks to Valen, and he looks at it intently, listening with absolute intent.
I've told the troops that we're taking Baladar next,
Valen says. The figure standing beside Valen sits on the steps, and Valen goes to sit beside it.
They're still suspicious of me, though. They always listen to you.
This is a dream, I realize, as I take a step forward. I circle Valen and that figure, so I'm standing right in front of them. But they don't seem to notice my presence. This is Valen's dream. He spoke to me through the Nero connection, but I don't think he realized he was doing it. I come to sit on the last step, 4 down from Valen, and I watch him and marvel. I'm here, present in his dream. I can't see it, not really, not how he's seeing it. But I'm here in his mind. Have you been in any of my dreams? I ask the question without thinking. But he doesn't look in my direction. He continues his conversation with the unidentifiable figure. I hesitate, feeling my stomach tighten into a knot and fear washing through me. Have you heard me talking to you in my dreams? The pit in my stomach deepens. I've said so many things in my dream visions, confessed everything I've felt, or will someday feel. What if... Did you hear what I said? I had told him I love him. I had asked him to never let me go. Valen doesn't look at me, but continues speaking to the figure next to him. And as his words come back to me, I look at the blurry white figure sitting beside him. Nova, I promise I'm doing everything I can. It's me. That's me he's talking to. I look around, trying to find the details, to hear what he's saying. But now it's all muffled, like I've suddenly been shut out, now that I'm aware of what's going on. What if this is Valen's dream vision of the future? It looks so different from mine. It feels different from mine. There are endless possible futures. Evander told me that. I know that logically. Of course, our visions of the future would be entirely different. Can you hear me? I ask with a breathy, emotional voice. Valen pauses, and for a moment I think that maybe he has heard me. But he continues speaking, and I'm both relieved and devastated. I'm a mess, I say, because I can't hold in the words, and I've missed talking to him so much. I don't know how to feel because I keep getting these too, and when I wake up, it destroys me that none of it was real. That blurry figure shifts and moves to Valen, and his eyes fill with hunger and desire. And then the figure, me, slides into his lap, straddling him. Tears fall from my eyes as I squeeze them shut. I don't want to witness it. It's too hard, knowing he wants this, me, as bad as I do. It kills me. It fractures me. It twists me up. Why, Valen? I sob. I don't try to stop myself from falling apart because he can't hear me. He's too busy wrapping his arms around Dream Me. He's too busy kissing the soul out of Dream Me. Why couldn't you have just stayed with me on that ship? Why did you have to go back to Ceruleus? His hands rise up the ghostly back of the figure, and then he rolls, pinning me against the porch of that little home I know they're sharing. He grinds his hips into mine, and his lips go to my neck. I do want this, Valen, I say, and my tone is getting frantic, angry even. Obviously you want it too, but I don't know how we can ever get there. I don't know what this place is or how you came up with it, but I know I can never become the person I've seen in my visions, no matter how bad I want to give in. The tears are now free falling down my face. I get to my feet, walking away from the two figures being very happy on the porch. I stop, facing away from them, covering my face with my hands as sobs rip from me. I can't do this. I'm going to go insane with these visions, these dreams. They're going to rip my heart out, and one of these days I'm just going to be dead, and Zane or my father is going to find my body in my room with my pillow covered in tears and my chest a hollowed-out cavern. I can't do this. I sob into my hands. It's too hard. I want everything. I want things to be different. I want to not be me.
I want you to be someone different. I want to love someone who had a different start to life so we could be together. With a big sobbing breath, I drop my hands from my eyes and startle back just one step. Valen now stands directly in front of me. Once more, he's wearing his familiar black. He looks right into my eyes with his blue ones. I don't know what to do, Nova, he confesses. I feel his words, every one of them, all the way down into my bones, in my stomach, in my heart. I can't be a different man, but being who I am is void because it keeps you away from me, and I don't know how much longer I can take it. The tears haven't stopped flowing down my face. I can't. I breathe, and it means a dozen different things. But I finally break. I rush forward at the same time Valen takes one step forward. I swear his hands are really wrapping around my waist. I'm sure my hand really slides into his black hair. And I swear my lips really crush to his, and my soul slips into his body, and his invades mine through our kiss. But suddenly there's nothing. No air. I suck in for breath and am engulfed in dark. Next, there is a blast, as strong as a supernova. And I open my eyes to find my dark and lonely room on Calypso. 10. I wake up in the worst mood. So it doesn't help when I walk out of the house and the 3 Bahiri walking past stop and look at me with wide eyes, maybe slightly fearful. They all dip their heads multiple times, asking if I need anything. I'm fine, I snap. I really can take care of myself. Can I get you anything? I'm being mean. I'm not really intending to do anything for them, but I just want to spit it back in their faces. No, Nova Nero, they say, and they sound absolutely scandalized at the idea. Please. I hold a hand up, giving them a look that I hope conveys to them that I didn't mean it. It works. Looking embarrassed, they turn and head up the stairs toward the Tabernacle. An idea strikes me. Silently, I follow them up the stairs. I follow them through the entry of the Tabernacle. When they slip into doors on the left, ones I've never walked through, I wait a moment before going inside. I don't understand the Bahiri. They've always been spoken about like they were a religion, but I've only seen them as servants to the Nero, which doesn't sit right with me at all. I really do want to understand them. The room we enter is large, like an assembly hall, but there are no chairs. It's a wide open space with a clean, white marble floor. There are no windows. Straight ahead, there is a depiction of the Eon galaxy. It's massive and spans the entire wall. Its surface is painted black, but contains a sandy texture. Where there should be suns, spread throughout the galaxy, there are glowing blue dots. Neron. Someone incredibly skillful must have created this mural. The tiny specks representing the suns of the different solar systems glow brilliantly, despite their tiny size. It's beautiful. It stuns me. My mouth falls open slightly, looking up at it. Emotion actually pulls at my insides. This is my home. This is our galaxy, comprised of millions of suns. And then there's the Neron. I feel it calling to me. I feel peace when I just look at it. All in a row, there are 6 Bahiri. They kneel before the mural. Some of them look up at it,
Some have their heads tipped so low their foreheads touch the ground. Each of them has a leather band around their necks, and at the end of it is a shard of Neron. They each hold it carefully between their index finger and thumb. I've never noticed any of them wearing these necklaces. If I had to guess, I'd say they must keep them tucked under their gray robes. As they look up at the mural, as they hold their Neron so reverently, I hear some of them muttering words. I see their lips moving. Thank you for life. We pray for safety. Please bless them with health. They're praying to the mural? To the Neron in their hands? To the Tabernacle? To the air? But just then, I get it. Neron is everywhere. It is in everything. Neron is life. Feeling as if I am intruding and wrongfully witnessing something sacred and personal, I slip out the door, leaving the Bahiri to their prayers. But now, I feel a fire lit inside me. I feel a nagging curiosity. I recall a door upstairs that I have never gone through, but have seen many Bahiri walk in and out of. I silently ascend the stairs. I curl down the moon-shaped hall. I hesitate for a moment with my hand on the doorknob. Maybe I shouldn't pry. Maybe I should just stay judging them. But that feels wrong. I want to know why. It's burning in me. I may not understand it, but that doesn't give me the right to declare it wrong. I twist the knob and push the door open. The air is warm and dry in here, and it's quiet, except for the rustle of paper. That's because it's immediately obvious that this is a library. Bookshelves stretch from floor to ceiling in the space. It isn't overly large, maybe the size of a big bedroom. Enough space for 2 couches and 2 desks. But the shelves are packed with ancient-looking tomes. Seated at one of the desks is a Bahiri woman I've seen before, and across from her, at the other desk, looking right at me, is Tomas. "Is there something I can help you with, Nova?" he asks. Where the other Bahiri always look at me with awed wonder, he looks at me with concern and wariness. I stumble to find words, because I don't know what to say. I have this sudden, overwhelming feeling that I am somewhere I do not belong. I was just curious. He stands and takes 2 steps toward me. There is nothing wrong with being curious. It's how we grow. He offers me a gentle, controlled smile. It is okay for you to be here. There is nowhere in the Tabernacle that is forbidden to you. You are a Nero. There's that word, that title, that reverence. It makes my skin crawl. What are all these books? I ask, trying to divert my discomfort and my annoyance. Tomas's eyes go to scan the shelves and the thousands of books that line them. Studies, accounts of history, words of wisdom, journals, maps, all records recorded and written by either Bahiri or Nero. They must be old, I say, as I take a step further into the room. I take Tomas at his word that it really is okay for me to be in here. I walk along the shelves. Very few of the books have titles along the spines. Most are leather, worn and tattered, handmade. Most of them are, Tomas says as he walks along with me. This is one of the Tabernacle's most valued possessions. We have protected these texts over the thousands of solars the Bahiri have supported the Nero. I come to a row of black notebooks that do not look so old. On the spines, Written in silver ink are the letters En.
Evander's prophecies, Tomas explains.
At the words, goosebumps flash over my skin, and I swear my hair lifts on end. What futures must be told in those books? What kind of darkness is inked onto the pages? Is there any hope for the future written in them? Have you read them all? I ask, moving along because the books of prophecy are making me uncomfortable.
No, he answers, shaking his head. Some of the texts are for the Nero only. Some are in languages long forgotten. Some are too old to be touched any longer. I nod my head. Some of that makes sense to me. Other parts still make me cringe. People are just people. We all have different strengths, different abilities. Do you consider your life happy, Tomas? I ask as I round the end of the shelves. Does being what you are give you satisfaction? I meet his green eyes, begging him to tell me the truth. We find satisfaction where our hearts lie, he says after a few moments of hesitation. My heart has always held wonder at the galaxy, the universe. I have always revered the way I feel when I hold Neron, when I consider the miraculous things it can do. If you are asking if I am happy being aid to those who were blessed by the galaxy to understand the wonder that is Neron, my answer is yes, Nova. I see it in his eyes. He means every word. He is happy. He loves everything there is to being a Bahiri. I can hardly comprehend that kind of devotion. Thank you for explaining it to me, I say, folding my arms around myself. I take a step backward, back toward the door. I'm sorry for interrupting your day. You are welcome to interrupt me any time, Nova Nero, he says, calm and serene. I step out the door with my heart racing in my chest. I don't understand. Not really. There you are, a young voice says. It's Ronan. He's leading the entire class up the stairs to a classroom, followed by Zara. You're late, she says, but it comes out as a bit of a surprised question. I'm sorry, I say, blinking twice, trying to clear the confusion from my brain. Without another word, I join my classmates and head in for another day of training. 11. Spirit. That is the main difference between any human in the galaxy and a Nero. Our spirits have the ability to connect with Neron. Our bodies know how to channel our spirits. We know how to blend the two. Mind and spirit and Neron. It's like working a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it gets. The more I train my spirit and my mind, the better I can wield Neron. While Zara and Keary understand that something must be done to stop Dominion, I have not convinced them I can do anything about it. But they humor me. They let me imagine, wish, hope. They wish with me, but they do not believe that anyone can kill Cerilius. He has no heirs, and that is the way it has worked for the past 4 centuries. Father passes down to son or daughter. They become worse than the leader before them. We have to kill Cerilius. We have to cut off the head. My teachers increase my training. Another hour in the morning and another hour in the evening. Nimia takes over teaching the younger children, and Zara and Keary spend 75% of their day teaching me one-on-one. I surpass Quinton in ability. I'm days away from catching up to Nimia.
I did not like your fire when you first began this, Zara confesses as she watches me move the corsair with Neron. It rises into the air, and I move it from one side of the tabernacle to the other. I thought you were ignorant and rash, she says. You are not prepared, and you never will be. I still think you will die doing what you are trying to do. But I see now, you have fire. You have determination. If, and I mean that as a big if, solars down the road, anyone can come up with a way to end the terror the galaxy has endured for the last 400 solars. It is you, Nova Ainsley. The next evening, after I've finished creating Neron arrows and blasting them at targets 100 yards away, I walk into the dining room in the Tabernacle to grab a snack. Nimia watches me from one of the dining tables, alone. You're really gonna try to take Dominion on by yourself. I pause, the fresh fruit at my lips. She's hardly spoken 4 words to me since I've arrived. I am, I say, meeting her warm brown eyes. You know, to get to Cerilius, you're gonna have to go through his Nero, she says, looking me up and down like she can read my abilities from my skin. You really think you're strong enough to take him out, too? She has no idea what she's really asking. She has no idea what that idea means to me. So she has no idea why I don't answer her question, why I turn and walk away without a word. I feel like you're hiding something, Zane says that night, after everyone else has gone to bed. I don't look over at him, even though he's just sitting to the side of me at the dining table. We're playing a card game, and I'm losing because I don't play cards, and I'm not paying very close attention. I told you I'm still figuring it all out, I say, placing a card down. It's one that loses me the game. You aren't like that, though, Nova, he says with a shake of his head as he takes the whole stack, winning. You're a planner. You think the numbers through. You don't normally take a step without knowing where you're heading. This thing is huge, I say, folding my arms on the table. Give me a little leeway if it takes me a while to figure out the plan. I feel his eyes on me, and the thoughts rolling through his head. And I feel bad. Once, Zane was my best friend. My only friend. On Corpillion, my circle was so small that it was actually a triangle. But everything has changed. Our lives are a constant state of change now. I feel him becoming a smaller and smaller part of my life every day. You'll know everything when the time is right, I say. Movement catches my eye, and I see Edan standing in the hallway that leads toward the bedrooms. He nods his head, an indication that he needs me. So I stand from the table, knowing I'm leaving Zane angry and feeling a little ignored, betrayed, and abandoned. I can't hold everything. I can't do it all. Make everyone happy. I'm not even going to try. Edan goes back into his bedroom, and I know he's going to slip out his window and meet me at the cliffs. I go right out the front door. There is no wind tonight, but the sky overhead is dark and heavy with clouds. It's going to start raining any time. Through the grass, I catch up to Edan quickly, though neither of us says a word until we reach the cliffs. Any more visions? He asks as he folds his arms over his chest. I shrug. Not since the one about the wedding. I did slip into one of his dreams, but it didn't really make much sense. Just us together. Edan nods. He's been trying to help me dissect them, to figure out what moves to make in the future. There has to be a way we can use them to our advantage. Any traces of him yet? I ask.
That's why I asked you to come out. There's a new episode from Arden.
He pulls out his own set of autobuds from his pocket. We turn, sitting on the edge of the cliff, and he hands me one. I slip it into my ear, and he plays the spacecast from his own Connect link. Well, I guess we can count Corpillion as officially taken over. Arden's voice comes through clear and angry. They exported 50 million kilos of Neron off the planet yesterday. And as soon as the transporters took off to the distribution hubs with it, Cerilius left the planet aboard the Dominion and is halfway back to Isroth. I swear under my breath and shake my head. It's done. My home planet is just another cog in Dominion's inner workings. With no new planets to take over and no one stepping out of line right now, I'd suspect Cerilius will stay on his gutted and cursed planet for a while. He'll cozy up with his Kinduri and maybe spend some time trying to track down that weapons manufacturer. If you haven't heard yet, he's now tripled the reward for her capture.
Holy slag, Nova.
Edan swears, tapping paws.
This goes beyond just being a fan of your work. Cerilius needs you for something.
I shake my head. What could he possibly want me for? I say. It just doesn't make any sense. If he wanted a Neron sword, I'm sure he could find another person to do it for him. And for less credits.
Is there any chance he knows you're a Nero?
Edan asks, his eyes boring into me.
This would make more sense if he knew.
My gaze turns out over the ocean, but I'm racking my brain, thinking over any possibilities. The only people who saw me do anything on Corpillion were Valen and Rena, and neither of them would have said anything.
You're putting a lot of trust in Valen,
Edan says.
You know, considering he's thought of as the second most evil person in the galaxy.
I shake my head, glaring darkly at him. You don't understand, I say, as my fingers curl into fists in the grass. The things we've seen, everything we've felt, I've felt his conflict. He wouldn't do that to me. Edan keeps looking at me for a long minute, trying to decide if he can take my word for it.
I can't think of another reason why Cerilius wants you so bad,
he says simply, and presses play again. I don't know where you are, masked girl, but I pray that you've built some serious artillery to keep yourself safe. Arden Black says with seriousness. I can make all kinds of weapons, but I don't need them anymore. I can create them, pull them right out of the air, just the same as Valen. In other news, there's still no word where the last Nero is. Arden moves on. It's now been well over a lunar since he was last seen. Speculation is flying around the galaxy that he's dead, that he's abandoned Cerilius, that he's off somewhere building his own army to take over, that he's disappeared to the Frozen Kingdom and is planning something there. My eyes widen, and Edan and I look at each other at the same time. What if?
Do you think?
Edan asks. I shake my head. I don't know. I answer honestly. He knows about it. He told me himself. He's been there before. It's my true home, where I was born. My father found me floating in space just a league from the planet, engulfed in Neron. I shake my head. There's no reason for him to be there. No one can get anywhere close to the planet. He can't do anything there. There's no way. Edan doesn't say anything, and I can feel it. He's mulling it over. The implications if Valen really were there, and what he could possibly do with that much Neron. I don't know about all of you, Arden says right into my ear, but I'm getting a little tired, a little burned out. I'm starting to feel like this spacecast is pointless. Nothing and no one makes a difference. Maybe it's time we stop hoping. Maybe it's time that we just accept that this is the galaxy we live in and that nothing is ever going to change. Her words chill me as she signs off. Never, never has Arden sounded so hopeless. Never has her fighting spirit dimmed. But I feel it. It's the way the entire galaxy feels. We're all tired. We're all getting so used to the way things are. I feel that light flickering throughout the galaxy. I feel that hope dim. It's time we come up with a real, solid plan, I say out loud, even though I don't have a clue what that plan is. "12. You're quite demanding considering who you are," Zara says, sounding thoroughly annoyed. She sits in the dim light of Evander's living quarters, totally unbothered by him. He's laying flat on the floor, staring up at the ceiling, but he certainly isn't seeing its white surface. "No one ever got anything important done by sitting back and being overly polite," I say, as I pull the other chair across from the two of them, though I don't sit in it. My hands restlessly dance across the back of it. "What is it you asked us to come here for?" she asks, moving on, even though she's annoyed that I made her come up here and didn't really give her a choice in doing so. "Cerilius is back on Isroth," I say immediately. I'm antsy. I want to get through all the thoughts in my head before they become even more mixed up and complicated. I need to know if I stand a chance at getting to him on his own planet or if I'm going to be vaporized before I get within half a league. "You will most likely be vaporized," Zara says without hesitating. I glare at her darkly, annoyed that she's being so unhelpful. "Evander, I know that you were there and led the attack on Isroth," I say. "I know there were a lot of Nero who were killed." 23 of them, he says. His voice is dreamlike, far away sounding even, but there's a chill in it that lets me know he has not forgotten the exact number or any of their faces. I nod in acknowledgement, even though he isn't looking at me. "And what about you, Zara? Were you there as well?" Her eyes slide over to meet mine. The galaxy only talks about Evander Nero anymore because they believed he was the last known one, besides Valen. As I look at Evander, who looks like he's in his mid-30s, but in reality is over 80, and I look at Zara, who looks a little over 40, I know there has to be a possibility. She could easily be over 100 solars old. "I was there," she says. There's weight in her voice. War. Blood. "I only made it out of there because of Evander. The galaxy thinks he was the sole survivor, but he protected me. That was my last war. I decided no more. And then I came here, to Calypso." I had never considered it, not once, that there was a reason Zara was here and not out there fighting. But I hear it, in every syllable she speaks. She has fought wars. She's won and lost them. A person can only take so much war. I haven't learned that myself yet, but I'm witnessing it right now, in Zara's eyes. "You need to let this go, Nova," she says. The darkness in her eyes is gathering. "You must think awfully highly of yourself to think that you stand a chance of marching into Isroth and taking out Cerilius when so many of us failed before." She sits forward, fixing me with cold, deadly eyes. "You are talented," she continues. "You have far exceeded my expectations. You may be more gifted than all the other students combined,
but you are certainly not a one-woman army." Her words are harsh and blunt. She thinks I'm going to die. But I don't back down. I'm not afraid. I stand, leaning in toward her. I've never been one who cared about what others think of me. I've always been one to prove others wrong. So you can say whatever you want. I realize you aren't going to go with me, that I'm going to walk onto Isroth by myself. But you can either tell me what to expect when I arrive, or you can keep it to yourself and know that I'm never going to stand a chance. She blinks at me. I've surprised her. She thought she could scare me into backing down. "Do you want my death on your hands?" I say, with ice and venom in my voice. I take her silence as an answer. "I need you to tell me everything you know about Isroth," I say. "I need to know how to get to Cerilius so I can kill him." "Harder!" I yell, thrusting my staff toward Edan, forcing him to parry and block my shot. With a guttural cry, he twists, spinning his club and jabbing the end of it toward me. The tip of the spike grazes my vest, but doesn't break through to skin. "Good," I say with a wicked smile. "Now try to do it again." Sparring with Edan is completely different than sparring with Zane. Zane is finesse and speed and control. Edan is about movement and brute swings. It's more difficult sparring with the club. While Zane's rapier could slice me through if he got too close, Edan's club will obliterate me if he actually hits me with it. I designed it to cause explosions when it makes contact, and that Neron spike on the end will go through anything, even steel. The sun set half an hour ago, but with the glowing illumination of the Neron, we spend another hour out here in the grass, trying to kill each other, but never quite giving it 100%. Okay, Edan finally says, bracing himself by putting his hands on his knees and looking up at me. He's winded. "How the void do you have this much stamina?" "I cheat," I say as I deactivate my staff, which cuts our light by half. "Nero, remember?" "Kakshi," he curses me, but with a smile on his face and a wicked look in his eyes. I laugh and extend a hand out to him, pulling him along the path back to the house. He carefully carries his club to one side. Edan stashes it in his hiding place. He knows Zane still doesn't trust him. We make our way back toward the house, but movement toward the Tabernacle catches my eye. Just barely through the dim light, I see Rena and Kyril. They're leaning back against the building, and they're kissing. "Did you know about that?" I ask, utterly floored. "I had my suspicions," Edan says, watching them without shame. "She's been leaving every evening for over a lunar now. No shock she was sneaking out to find a lover." I actually smile a little. Rena's always so stoic, so serious and annoyed. It's about slam time she found something to be happy about. "I'm guessing you haven't seen Zane following Nimia around either," he asks as we start back down the path toward the house. "What?" I say, my brows furrowing as I whip over to glare at him. He shrugs. "Not that I've seen anything like what we just witnessed, but he's been very aware of her schedule, eating picnics with her in Zara's garden and slag." I mull that over. I'm over Zane. I know there's no going back, and I don't want to, but I'm still protective of him. I've been so stressed about my crew being here and getting bored and thinking they hated it. But in the end, maybe this was good for them, too. "Close that shocked mouth, little Nero,"
Edan says as we descend the stairs toward the house.
You can't be the only one who gets to have a romantic interest.
Shut your mouth, I say, shaking my head in annoyance. If everyone wants to get laid on this planet, I'm not going to stop them. What about you? Have you had an eye on Zara and haven't told me about it yet? He chuckles, but doesn't rise to my taunts. We step into the house, and Edan grabs some fruit Una has on the counter, but heads right to his room. I don't see Zane around. I assume he's in his room. Or maybe with Nimia. Apparently, I know nothing. But Dad sits on the purple couch, looking at me with worried eyes. What? I ask, taking the plate the kind Bahiri woman pushes toward me. I sit on the couch beside him, looking at him like I'm about to be scolded. You've been spending a lot of time with Edan lately, my father says evenly. I make an affirmative noise before stuffing food into my mouth. I chew for a moment, stalling and buying time before I have to say anything. Turns out we have a lot in common. Are you getting romantically involved with him? I inhale my food down the wrong tube, sending me into a coughing fit. Dad takes my plate so I don't spill, setting it aside, and smacks me on the back while I nearly choke on some fish. Why? I wheeze, trying to clear my windpipe. Why the void would you say that? I look up at my father with watering eyes, mortified and a little grossed out. What else am I supposed to think when you're coming in hours after dark and you're finally smiling again when I haven't seen you smile in lunars? He says in a rush. His eyes are concerned and not entirely approving. Dad, I cough out, finally starting to feel like I'm not going to die. I'm not interested in Edan that way. He's just my friend. We understand each other in a way I haven't felt in a long time. Torin looks at me for a long moment, evaluating if he believes me or not. I'm not good at making friends, except Zane. I don't get romantically involved, except for with Zane. I've never had anyone besides Dad and Zane. Just a friend, he says, almost as a question. With a smile, I nod. I shake my head at his protectiveness, even though I appreciate it. Good, he says with a nod, because he looks at you like he'd protect you against Valen Nero himself, but that boy is bat-slag crazy. I laugh and shake my head, because it's true, and I wouldn't want him to be any other way. 13. Not again. Not again. My brain is screaming at me. Give me more. Please let it last forever. My heart sings far louder. In the end, my heart always wins. Hurry up! The sweet young voice calls out. She's growing up so fast. Her blonde hair falls into her face, but she pushes it up with a dirty hand. She's always a mess, because I can't ever keep her in the house for longer than 5 minutes if she's awake. I am coming, Valen says with a laugh as he steps out of the house, smiling as he looks at all 3 of us waiting for him. What took you so long? The stoic young boy asks with a concerned look. He looks just like his father when he wears that expression. The same exact black eyebrows. The same lines appear between them. Even the set of his lips is just the same. The only features he got from me are his lips, fuller and rounder than his father's. I promised your mother I'd make dinner tonight, Valen says as he steps into the long grass and walks toward us.
I was just finishing it up.
The girl bounds through the grass she is barely taller than. She takes a leap, and Valen catches her just in time. She opens her hands to reveal the latest insect she's trapped to be her friend. "His name is Pico," she says, with reverence in her voice.
"It's very nice to meet you, Pico,"
Valen says, as serious as if he were speaking to any human being.
"Can we get this over with?"
the boy asks with impatience. His preteen moods seem to be kicking in these days, and we're all paying for his misery. He's always been a serious child, since the day he was born, but it's far more exaggerated these days.
"What's your hurry, son?"
Valen asks, and I can hear him trying to use patience.
"Do you have somewhere else to be?"
He's teasing the boy, because there is nowhere else to be. Not on this planet. Here, it is just us, just our little family. The boy glares at Valen and actually rolls his eyes before he turns away. I look over at my husband and smile, even though I shake my head. He's always trying to lighten our son's mood. My heart still flutters when Valen meets my eyes and smiles. It's still the most brilliant, beautiful smile I've ever come across. It still makes my blood race. "Mama, look!" the girl squeals. I look, and I find 100 butterflies flocking to her. She thinks they're her friends, too. She doesn't yet understand that she's controlling the Neron in their blood, calling them to her. She doesn't understand that they don't have a choice. "They're beautiful, baby," I say sweetly, because she's just a child, and I can't bear to crush her wonder.
"Come on,"
the boy says impatiently. I shake my head. We're in for a couple of rough solars with that one.
"All right,"
Valen says, coming to stand by my side. The boy and the girl come to join us.
"Everyone ready?"
Our children both nod, and together we each raise our hands, extending them out. I feel my senses reach out. I let my soul breathe in and out, expanding and searching. I feel it. It's all over, everywhere on this lush planet. But it must be gathered. I begin to close my fists and raise my hands up slightly higher. We do the movements together. Water, pure and clean, rises up into the air, controlled by the Neron that is in everything. Together, as a family, we control it. We gather it from everything around us. And then we guide and direct it, through the air around our home, and there, into the barrels, to where we will use it later. Just as Valen closes the lids on the 4 barrels, movement through the grass pulls my ears, and I turn to look.
"Cerilius!"
the boy calls excitedly. I see him bound across the grass to where the man is walking up the hill toward us. Cerilius greets my son with a wide, happy smile, and the boy talks excitedly to the man. My daughter comes to my side, grabbing my hand. She looks towards Cerilius with suspicion, a furrow forming between her little brows. Valen comes to stand by my side. He wraps an arm around my waist, and I lean into him slightly. Cerilius laughs at something the boy says, and the two of them cross the field to stand before us.
"It is so good to see you all again,"
he says, smiling at each of us. But the boy is the only one who really smiles back at him.
"I have missed this beautiful little family." "We thought we'd be seeing you next week,"
Valen says.
When we came back to Isroth.
Cerilius shrugs and smiles as he looks down at my daughter.
I was passing close by. I thought I would stop and say hello to my favorite young Neros.
He squats down in front of my daughter. She backs away from him just a little, holding onto my leg tightly.
You are turning into such a beautiful little person,
Cerilius says as he takes her little, dirty hand in his.
You look so much like your mother, but with your father's eyes.
A butterfly lands on Cerilius's shoulder, and he looks over at it. That's Biza, she says sweetly. She names every creature she meets.
Oh, look at that,
Cerilius says as he extends a finger to it, encouraging it to climb on, which it does.
Did you bring her here to say hello to me?
The girl hesitates, because I know she would never. But she nods, telling him what he wants to hear.
Look at how you're growing,
he says. But as he stands, it's Valen that he looks at with pride.
What a wonderful job you are doing with your children.
Cerilius looks over at our son, who looks back in return with admiration.
It won't be long until we can begin working together. Just think of everything we can accomplish together.
I sit up in bed and immediately curl over the edge of it, vomiting all over the floor.
No,
I say as I tremble from head to toe. A dim bedroom surrounds me, but I still see my son's face, my daughter's, Valen's, and Cerilius's. Over my dead body. The house is deathly quiet, but as the sky outside begins to lighten, I know the others will be waking any time. So silently, I slip out of my bed and I climb out the window. With venom in my veins, I stalk through the village, ignoring the bustling, awake Bahiri, ignoring their calls to me, asking if I need anything. I walk straight down the stairs, toward the island's edge. I take the stairs down, zigzagging down the face of it, until I reach the sandy beach far below. Determined not to be bothered, I head toward the remote tip of the island, where I know no one will see or hear me. I find a rocky outcrop and climb onto it, staring out at the ocean. I take a deep breath, trying to calm myself, and utterly fail. I let my eyes slide closed, and I sink down into myself, straight for that door. Have you seen them? I demand the second I walk through it. I get an impression of complete and utter shock. I sense Valen faltering in his step, and then coming to a complete stop.
Nova?
He asks, utterly surprised to have me there, in his mind, after such a long absence. Have you seen them? I demand. I don't have time. I don't have the patience.
Seen who?
He says. His voice is full of wonder, of awe. He never expected me to come into his mind again. Our children, I say. I try to say it with venom, but my voice catches. It cracks. Have you seen our children and what's going to happen to them? There's a long pause. Valen's mind is very still and cold, and I know it before he says the words.
Yes.
How many of them? I ask. It's a test to see just how much our visions of the future align. I need to know how much weight I need to place on these dreams.
A boy,
Valen says with reverence,
who looks like me, and a girl who looks just like you.
Emotions pull into my eyes, and I shake my head. I sink to the rocks beneath me, tucking my knees up into my chest. I wrap my arms around them, trying to hold myself together. The future you've seen, I say, desperately needing to know. Will Cerilius use them? Will he try to use our family? Valen hesitates in answering, which tells me the truth.
Yes,
he finally says. I swear, shaking my head deeply back and forth. I swear again, smacking my fist against the stones beneath me. I hear a crack, but I don't open my eyes. I need to know where you are, I say, anger and rage rolling through my brain in waves. Because I am freaking out, thinking about the possibilities, and I'm so slam scared of what you could be doing, and
I'm on Kylea.
Valen cuts me off.
My planet. For the last lunar and a half, I've been drowning in these visions of the future. I knew I couldn't hide it from anyone, what was happening, and I was afraid if I stayed that everything I am feeling would show on my very skin, and the whole galaxy would know every second I'm away from you is absolute and utter agony, Nova.
His words hit me with real, physical force. Like strong arms wrap around me, holding me tight, like a hug he couldn't hold back 1 second longer. I'm stunned into silence for several long moments while I replay what he just said, over and over in my mind. I'm scared to sleep lately, I say. My voice comes out small and weak. Because I get these visions of our future, and every time I wake up and find none of it was real, I completely fall apart.
Exactly. Valen breathes. I can't close my eyes without living through our wedding over and over again. I can't sleep without seeing our life playing out, or seeing our children laughing or crying or screaming. And every morning I wake up and all I want to do is tell you about it, but you're not there next to me. And I'm reminded that we're leagues away from each other, and none of those futures can ever come to pass.
Valen, I breathe, and it comes out as a sob. There are so many more words I need to say, so much more I have to get out of me. But I can't sort them out. I can't find a way to express them. So I say his name, and nothing else.
I don't know if I can do this, Nova,
he says. His voice quakes. I can feel him trying to hold on.
I'm losing my mind every slam night. Reality and the future are shredding me to pieces. I'm going to go insane.
Insane. Insane. I feel insane. Change your future, Evander had said. Yours and his. Valen can't or won't leave Cerilius. He's made that very clear. If Cerilius were dead, would you walk away from all of it? The words come out of my mouth before I've thought about them, about their implications.
What?
Valen asks. He sounds unsure, but hopeful. You're in Cerilius's debt, I say, as my thoughts begin to swirl and tumble. Not dominions, but if Cerilius were dead, could you walk away from everything? My heart is racing. I want this so bad. I want it with every fiber of my being.
Nova, I can't kill Cerilius.
He sounds so regretful, so apologetic. Not you, I say. I feel like I'm gathering Neron into me, but it's determination. It's courage. Me. If I can kill Cerilius, will you walk away from it all? My blood is surging, pulsing so hard it just might burst out of my veins. If I kill Cerilius, will you leave it all and be with me, Valen? The moment goes silent and still, like a held breath. Please. I silently plea with myself, with him. Please.
Yes.
And I explode, like everything was stalled inside of me and suddenly rushes out. Happiness, fear, preparation. I give a nod, even though he can't see it. You stay where you are, then, I say, the words rushing out of me in a wave. I can't risk Cerilius somehow swaying you before I can get to him.
Nova, it isn't going to be that easy, he says, his voice a warning. He has hundreds of thousands of soldiers, not to mention the Kinduri. If they touch you, they'll know what you're trying to do, and they'll burrow into your mind and make you think you're in immeasurable pain for the rest of your life.
I shake my head, barely hearing his warning. It won't be a problem getting to him, I say, as a wicked smile begins forming on my lips. He's already trying to find me. All I have to do is walk right up to his doors.
Nova,
Stay on Kylea, Valen, I say, cutting him off. I'm ready to fight. I'm going to change our future. And before he can try to talk sense into me, I slam that door between our minds closed. I get up off the rock, and I head back to the stairs, to find Edan, to put my plan in motion. 14. Will you promise me you'll grant them asylum and safety? I'm begging, but I'll do whatever it takes at this point. I need to know they'll be safe here, that you aren't going to kick them off planet as soon as I'm gone. I'm pleading and desperate. Me and Edan are standing in Zara's office with her and Kyril and Tomas. Logically, it does not make sense for them to stay on Calypso, Zara says in that calm, analyzing way of hers. They're not Nero. They seem to have no interest in joining the Bahiri. But I know there are relationships building between a few of them, I say, throwing the words in Kyril's face because I'm feeling desperate. He looks at me with a glare, but it's infused with guilt. Zara looks over at him, but she doesn't look surprised, maybe slightly annoyed. And I can't say that I know it's the same, but apparently there's something between Zane and Nimia, I say. I'm still not entirely sure how I feel about that. Maybe because I haven't been able to come right out and ask him what's going on.
Being on this planet with only a handful of other people can make hearts lonely,
Tomas speaks up. And I wonder if he's talking about his own heart. Has he ever been tempted by Zara? Or any of the other Bahiri? There is nowhere safer in the galaxy, I say, as I take a step forward and place my palms flat on Zara's desk. Zane himself helped ensure the planet remains invisible to scanners. If I can do what I'm going to try to do, is it not a fair trade, keeping my father and my friends safe? Kyril and Tomas know it isn't up to them. Zara is the one in charge here. It's her call. They both look to her, waiting for her reply. She meets my eyes, studying me. I see darkness in hers. I see exhaustion. I see fight. I see a leader who has done too much in her life and is now taking her leave. Your crew may stay, she says, so long as they do not cause any trouble, for one solar. I cannot guarantee a place for them on this planet after that. One solar. It feels like forever, yet not enough time. I'll take it, I say with a determined nod. Thank you. Thank you very much. I stand up straight, about to head for the door when Zara stands. "You know you will not come back from this alive, right?" she asks. And her words cut through me like a cold knife. "That your odds of accomplishing this on your own, what we failed to do with over 20 life-trained Neros, are non-existent." I look back over my shoulder at her, feeling my stomach tighten.
"That's what makes her so different from you."
Edan surprises me when he speaks up.
"She spent her whole life waiting for something bigger to happen. Spent her whole life waiting for Cruelest to come and destroy it. She's not alone, but that's how she'll slip under the radar and slit his throat in broad daylight."
His words give me courage, and a smile curls on my lips. The three of them look at us with bewildered amusement.
"Good luck, Nova,"
Keary says, with his arms crossed over his chest.
"Give him void."
"May your endeavor be Neron blessed," Tomas says, with a dip of his head, his eyes slowly closing for a moment. I nod in return, because I hate when the Bahiri bow to the Nero like we're something to worship. "I pray you have something special, Nova Nero," Zara says, holding my gaze without faltering. "I pray that you become everything Evander prophesied you would be." And my stomach goes cold. My ears ring, just a little. Edan grabs my hand and leads me out of the office, and I'm too in my own head to say goodbye. Evander predicted that someone would come along and free Neron. That can only mean the end of Dominion. I've always fought against the idea that it was me he prophesied about. But here I am, bound and determined that I'm going to kill Cruelest, that I am going to end him.
"We've all known it,"
Edan says, as we step through the gate of Zara's garden and out onto the stones that surround the Tabernacle.
"I guess you're just now realizing that you're the last to know it."
My eyes fix on the ground, and my brain is tripping over itself, trying to make sense, trying to sort everything out. No. Just no. But I can't lie to myself. I know exactly what I'm going to do. So I push the thoughts out of my head. I raise my chin, slip my shoulders back, and side by side with Edan, we make our way down the stairs back into the village. The scent of food is heavy in the air when we step inside the house. Una is busy in the kitchen, just setting everything out. There's some kind of bird marinated in something I don't even have a name for. Some kind of seaweed and flowers and juice. There's orange root vegetables and pink fruits that I've seen growing on bushes. My mouth waters as I sit at the table next to my father.
"How was your training today?"
my father asks as he dishes himself a plate. "Great," I answer. I give myself an internal pep talk, telling myself that I have to make him confident, so when I do what I'm about to do, he doesn't have to be so afraid. I've officially surpassed Nimia. Keary says that if I wanted, I could start teaching Kylie.
"Already?"
he asks in surprise as he takes the fruit bowl I pass him. I nod. I might be old, but apparently I'm a fast learner.
"But it's only been 3 lunars,"
he says, his brows furrowed. "How about a congratulations instead of questions?" I say, raising an eyebrow at my father. He makes a chuckle sound and wraps an arm around my shoulders, giving a squeeze.
"I'm sorry, Nova. I'm very proud of you." "So does that mean we'll be leaving soon?"
Zane asks, and I know I hear a hint of disappointment in his voice. "Well, that was my plan," I say, but looking around at their reactions to the 4 words I just spoke, I see disappointment. What do you all think? I think I'm enjoying the peace and quiet on Calypso. Rena speaks up, surprising us all. I never realized how stressful a life of illegal activity was until I had a few lunars of change. I don't mind staying a little longer. I smile at her, and I wonder if she knows that I know she's been sneaking moments with Valen Nero.
I thought we were looking for somewhere safe,
Zane says. His voice is quiet, as if he isn't sure he should voice what he's thinking.
I don't know that we're going to find anywhere more safe than this planet, considering it's invisible to scanners.
I look over at my father, who is happily eating his food. What do you think, Dad? He pauses, looking over at me with his gray eyes.
All I ever tried to do since the moment I found you was keep you safe. If the Nero and the Bahiri aren't trying to kick us off, I don't mind staying.
I don't know how to feel about this. I know my future isn't here on Calypso. Maybe I only have lunars left to live. My future could be short. But as I look around at them all, I'm not as tempted as I should be to stay with them. I want them here. I want them to be safe. I want them to be happy. Life changes. Stories evolve. Fate takes families separate ways. I smile at my father, reach over, and cover his hand with mine. He squeezes my fingers, then resumes his meal. It's a nice last meal together. We talk and laugh, and everything seems so normal. It's exactly what I hoped for out of this night. Because I don't know if I'll ever have it with them again. That night, before he heads to bed, I hug my father. Thank you, I say, against his broad, strong chest.
For what?
He asks. I squeeze myself tighter to him, taking in a deep breath of his scent, committing it to memory. Just for everything, for being the father I need. He squeezes me tight and presses his cheek into the top of my head.
I love you always.
No matter what, I say. He presses a kiss into my hair, and with a smile, I tell him good night and watch him step into his bedroom and close the door. With a scared pit in my stomach, I step into my own and close the door. Quietly, I pack my bag. I stuff all the clothing I own into it. I grab my staff and hook it onto my belt. I may be able to forge any weapon I need out of Neron, but I'm still attached to my staff, the first weapon I ever created. I slip my boots on and lace them up. Looking in the mirror, I tie my hair back. I look into my eyes. I tell myself that I can do this. I'm not ready. I would probably never be ready, could never train enough, even if I spent my entire slowly aging life preparing. What I'm about to face is so massive, I'm not even going to try imagining it. So I have to be stupid. I have to be ignorant. I have to just go in blindly. When the house has been quiet for an hour, I step out of my door with my bag slung over my shoulder. I tap twice on Edan's door, quietly, so no one else hears. His door silently swings open, and he steps out, his own bag ready. Not making a sound, I place the note explaining in simple terms what I am doing on the table, and we walk to the front door and step outside. The air is warm, and there's a gentle breeze. We walk up the stairs to where the path breaks off, heading toward the fields. But movement in the dim light pulls my attention up the hill, toward the Tabernacle. I see 4 figures standing there. Zara, Keary, Tomas, and Evander. They stand with their hands over their hearts, a well wish. I place my own hands over my heart and dip my head in a nod. A thank you. Together, Edan and I step onto the path and head into the field. The grasses brush against my legs, smashed under my boots. As I walk up to it, the hatch of the Corsair opens, and standing there waiting is the Frank. "Welcome, Nova," it says in its flat computer voice. I smile at the robot as Edan and I walk up the ramp. I take in a breath, looking around at the command deck. "Where would you like me to take you tonight?" it asks, ever the obedient and willing pilot. I set my bag down on the ground and walk to the co-pilot's seat. Edan drops his bag beside mine and comes to stand beside me. He places a hand on my shoulder, a show of support. I look out the viewport. We're faced toward the cliff edge, and I can see dark ocean in front of me, stretching for kilometers and kilometers. "Set our destination as Isroth," I say, and as the words leave my lips, I feel darkness gathering in my chest, but also hope. If I can do this, it will change everything. It will affect trillions of lives. It will free Corpillion. It will end Valen's tether to Cerilius. It will mean that he and I can be together. "Yes, Nova," the Frank says. He crosses to the pilot's seat. The ports extend from his fingers, plugging directly into the ship. "Please be seated and buckle up." I look back at Edan just once, and the excited, manic gleam in his eyes gives me courage. I smile. We both sit. We both buckle up. I hear the engines fire up. I hear the Neron core come to life. The ship rises into the air, and I'm thrown back in my seat as the ship picks up speed. Faster and faster, Calypso becomes a dark blur. And then everything is black for a moment. Then we leave the planet's atmosphere, and there are 1,000 stars in front of me. 15. It would have taken us 8 lunars to go straight from Calypso in the B sector to Isroth in the N sector. But as soon as we leave Calypso's atmosphere, I tell the Frank to point us back to the wormhole. It waits there, like a nearly invisible mirror in the sky. My heart starts beating fast as we tip the nose of the ship to it. And as we slip inside, it grows dark. The darkest dark I've ever experienced. Then we're through to the other side. The Frank confirms that we are now in the P sector, just half a day away from Laziria. I see that dead planet, the one we found the wormhole hiding behind, just the same as when we first went through it 3 lunars ago. Now we only have to get from the P sector to the N sector. It will only take us 4 weeks. "Are you ready to tell me about your life on Laziria?" I ask, as I look at the light on the map that indicates his home planet. "It's just us. I think by now you can trust me with your history." Edan sits back in his seat, his feet up on the one across from him. "It isn't a matter of trust," he says, looking out the viewport. "It's just that it sounds so tragic, and I don't want anyone looking at me with sad, sympathetic eyes." "Enlighten me anyway," I say, crossing my arms over my chest. He takes one breath and swallows, still looking out the window. "I was the only child of 2 of Laziria's most renowned professors." He begins his story. "My parents were brilliant,
some of the smartest on the entire planet. They were well paid and the most respected at the top university on the planet.
This doesn't shock me. Edan is smart. He might not always come off that way, but he knows things.
And my parents weren't just brilliant in the ways Laziria valued. They wanted to learn about the underbelly of the galaxy. They wanted to understand its workings. They were working on something big. I was too young to understand or care about what it was, but they'd been digging into something to do with Laziria's dealings with Dominion.
But Laziria doesn't have any Neron, I say, my brows furrowing. Why would Dominion have anything to do with it?
You saw the planet,
Edan says, his eyes finally sliding over to meet mine.
You've seen the wealth, the arrogance. Do you really think it's that much of a stretch that there might be something fishy going on between the planet and Dominion?
I pause, considering it. No, it isn't a stretch. At all.
I don't know what they found, Edan continues. The official reports said it was an accident, that there was some kind of gas leak in our house that day. While I was at school, they were poisoned by something in the air.
I suck a quick breath into my lungs. Someone killed them for what they found. Edan's eyes are dark when he looks over at me.
Like I said, on record, it was an accident. But I knew. They'd found something they shouldn't have.
I shake my head. And once more, a conversation I'd had with Valen comes back to my mind. Is there any good left? Is it all just shades of gray?
I was taken into government custody,
Edan says.
I didn't have any family left alive to take care of me, so the government promised they'd do it. But they were cold, careless people who only wanted their check. I was 12 when my parents died. I gave the planet of Laziria 2 solars to prove they weren't as soulless as I'd thought. But when they proved worse than I thought, I decided I was better on my own.
Since he was 14. Edan has been on the streets, taking care of himself since he was 14. How old are you? I ask.
I turned 19 2 weeks ago.
He answers in a hollowed-out way. I'm sorry I missed it, I say. I would have had Una make you a pie if I'd known. Edan shrugs, his eyes sliding back to meet mine.
Birthdays are for little kids with happy lives. We grow up, don't we, Nova?
He's right. Not everything can be easy. History is made by those who have it hard or are willing to handle the hard. I'm sorry all that happened to you, Edan, I say. But I'm really glad we met in that park. I'm really glad I lied and called you my brother. I reach out and grab his hand, the one with a few scars across the back of it, like maybe he was whipped for stealing food to survive.
I'm really glad you claimed to be my sister,
he says. His expression is serious, sincere.
You saved my life that day, and I don't mind spending the rest of my life paying you back.
16. This is a planet at war. Even as we descend from the sky, I can see the bombs going off. I see the shots being fired. I see Neron explosions all over the surface. I'm glad the children are sleeping right now. I don't want them to see this, even though this is their future. I can't protect them forever, but I can protect them for now. Do we really have to do this? I ask, as Valen comes to stand beside me. His strong hand wraps around mine. He squeezes it tight, giving support. Can't he take care of it himself?
Every day this war continues, it costs Dominion billions of credits,
Valen says. His voice is flat, He's accepted all of this over the Solars. I shake my head. Money doesn't feel like a good enough reason to me. But this is the way things are. This is what we are here for. The black arrow touches down in the fortress, safe, for now, from the warfare. I go to the bedroom, collecting the girl in my arms. She doesn't wake, only wraps her arms around my neck and breathes deeply into my hair. She's getting so tall, I probably won't be able to pick her up like this in another solar. The boy yawns as Valen rouses him, but he rubs his tired eyes and gets out of bed, walking to his father's side. As a family, we stand together as the hatch opens. A dozen soldiers, a general, and Cerilius wait for us.
"There is no time for pleasantries,"
Cerilius says as we step off the ship.
"If this goes on another hour, the scales will be tipped and this will not end in our favor."
Everyone sets across a courtyard, and we walk swiftly to keep up. Cerilius heads toward a stone tower, and we slip in through a door, leaving the soldiers behind outside. A set of stairs circles up and up until it levels out into a circular room. Glassless windows give us a full view of the planet in the middle of an all-out war. I see bombs detonate, destroying buildings. I see 5 men shot to death on a street. I see grenades thrown into the open hatch of a ship. Lives are ending. Lives from all sides. The galaxy needs the Neron on this planet. I hear Cerilius's voice in my head, echoing the words he spoke through Valen's Connect link just a few days ago, begging us to come to the planet. "Mom?" the girl says, finally waking when she hears the sound of another bomb going off. "It'll be okay, baby," I say, pressing a kiss to her forehead and setting her down. She goes to stand next to her brother, who pulls her into his arms, hugging her tight to him. He's gotten so tall now. He's taller than me. His sister's head only comes midway to his stomach.
"The time is now," Cerilius growls. "Do you not see all these people dying? Do you not see how many resources are being wasted by the second?"
My heart skips a beat. My palms are slick with cold sweat. I feel Valen's hand on my shoulder. He gives me strength. He grounds me. It's time. We have to do this. I give one nod. And I let my eyes slide closed. I let my spirit expand. I let it search, going out, spreading far and wide, farther, so much farther than I can see. I feel life. Valen's hand slips into mine, and I feel my spirit stretching even further, finding more life. I feel his thoughts, his plan. Valen and I agree. Cerilius wants us to kill the locals, to stop their hearts, to get them out of the way of his acquisition of their planet. But Valen thinks it, and I do too. We'll simply freeze them, use the Neron in their bodies, and put them into a stasis mode where they can't stop Dominion. We both push. We search. I feel each of them, their lives, their hearts, their spirits. I flood my thoughts into them. I feel ice forming. I feel time stop. It's working. Valen squeezes my hand, a confirmation that he feels it too. It isn't what Cerilius wanted, but this is better. Colder and colder, I feel the world going quieter. I feel it calming. It's working. And then a hand touches my shoulder. A hand I know, the boy. And then a smaller one, the girl. And I feel the power within me surge. I feel a flood, a dam breaking. Neron energy rushes through me as our family connects with power. And the world screams. And then I feel my power explode. And as my eyes open, I see thousands before me, local residents and Dominion soldiers drop to the ground, dead. We killed them. As a family, we killed them all. "17. The dream vision comes back to me as I watch the planet in front of me growing bigger and bigger. I won't let it happen. I can't let it happen. Our children were watching as Valen and I set to take care of those residents. With the addition of their power, we wiped out an entire population. I can't let it happen. I have to change the future."
Ugh, this place is so much worse than I expected,
Edan says as we float through space. I nod in agreement. Isroth's one moon, Gara Loon, entirely populated by the Kanduri. It floats as a dark figure in the sky, surrounded by swirling black clouds. There are brilliant flashes around it nearly once a minute, constant lightning strikes in its ever-stormy sky. And just below it is Isroth. Even from here, out in space, I see its dark surface. There isn't a speck of blue or green on it. It's all a dark gray, like the land was scorched, burned to the ground. But really, it was overused. The entire planet was mined out, left as a hollowed-out colony. My stomach is up in my throat as I think about what's before us. After 4 weeks of anticipation and mental preparation, after the longest and shortest weeks of my life, we're finally here.
We can do this,
Edan says as he reaches over and takes my hand. We. Not you. We. I'm not alone. I squeeze his hand tighter. Ahead looms the spaceport, where all traffic bound for Isroth must pass through. A giant Class 4 ship with a portal right through the center of it waits in front of us. It is flanked by 5 dozen Class 1 ships, fighter ships, ready to take care of anyone who makes trouble.
It's showtime,
Edan says, never taking his eyes from the Class 4 guard ship. I nod, even though all my blood has gone into panic mode. I want to turn around. I want to run. I want to go back to the safety of Calypso and let someone else, anyone else, figure out how to change the fate of the galaxy. But I know there is no one else in the galaxy insane enough to try. There is no one else in the galaxy that has more riding on changing the future. If I fail, I will never have Valen. And that just isn't an option. Not anymore. Let's do this, I say, with a determined nod. Edan takes the cuffs from the seat beside us, and I place my wrists together behind my back so he can lock them in place. With a determined look on his face, he puts the collar around my neck, which locks over my mouth. It leaves only my eyes exposed, which are ringed with my infamous mask. In the viewport, I see my reflection. I look every part the prisoner. Edan looks me over and gives a satisfied nod. He guides me to one of the seats and ties me to it, good and secure, so I can't escape. And we're done just in time. Our turn to pull into the port arrives, and the Frank guides our ship forward.
State your business on Isroth,
A gruff, commanding voice echoes through the Corsair.
"I've come for the reward money,"
Edan says loudly and with confidence.
"Tell Cerilius I'd like to see him personally. Immediately." "Cerilius doesn't see random visitors,"
the voice says with an amused scoff.
"Come back in 100 solars." "I think he'll see me,"
Edan says. And I watch as that wicked, wild grin grows on his face.
"I've brought him the weapons manufacturer."
There's a pause, and even though the collar is locked around my face and no one can see it, a wicked smile grows on my own face. In the background, I hear people talking, frantic and shocked.
"Your landing on Isroth has been cleared," the voice returns. "Land directly in the presidential courtyard." "It will be my pleasure,"
Edan says, smiling like a madman with death in his eyes. As the director light turns to green, he looks over at me, and I know he can see the gleam in my eyes and feel the smile beneath this collar. The Frank directs the ship forward, and we slip through the portal, bound straight for Cerilius's door. End of episode 3. This has been Nero Awakening, written by Keary Taylor, narrated by Jamie Lamchick. Copyright 2019 by Keary Taylor. Production copyright by Keary Taylor.